All right, let's do a check real quick. You guys should be able to see and hear. Yep. That up just a little bit. You guys will see why we need this Google page here in a little bit. But we're going to get started. It's kind of chill Friday. We hang out, we talk shop a little bit, talk about the week, talk about what we're working on for the weekend. Oh, let me pop on here. I can be on here. Yep, that's me. Let's give people a couple minutes to show up, and then we'll get going. Oh, let me move this back over here. Can typically see everything that's going on. Okay. Well then, yeah, I think I've got everything I need. Waited long enough for all my system checks to come through good, so I think we should be good to go. All right, so the topic of today's stream and what we're kind of working on is excelling in the engineering field. Some of you that have been here before have seen me talk on this topic. You've seen my presentation on it. I just updated it. I was working on it earlier today, and I want to give more options and more things for you guys to look at and think about. Hey, how's it going, Inspector? And I want to emphasize that what I'm going to show is not prescriptive. What that means is I'm not like writing you a prescription, go take 2 of these Linux excellence things and call me in the morning. I'm giving you options and showing you things, and different people learn different ways. So one of the best things you can do is learn how you learn. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, and we'll just go through it and talk shop. Again, we kind of hang out on Fridays, so it's not like super hardcore, but I'm not going to be like recording this to be our official version of this, but this is just, something for us to talk through and work on. So, Inspector, I see you here. Anybody else that shows up, thanks for coming by. And this is our topic. So, excelling in the engineering field after college. But then let me add this. There's kind of this, if it'll work. Oh, super weird that that's not working. Anyways, there we go. It says for anyone, right? So it's not just for people that are getting out of college. This is for anyone. This is if you tell me you want to get into the field, if you tell me you want to work the certs route. I kind of put this around everything. Hey, how's it going, serious business? That's what we do here. We do serious business only. So, and then there's Inspector Diameter who inspects diameters. That's what he does when he's here. So what we're going to do for this is talk about a couple things, like what's an engineer, what do they do, what does a company really want you for, how you learn, and then things to go do to kind of get yourself some of the skills in this space. All right, so that's what today's topic's going to be about, right? Okay, so we'll hop down. By the way, if you guys didn't know, I'm a real person. I don't care if people know who I am. You can look me up online. All my accomplishments are out there. All right. So here's a quote, my little random quote to get you interested. This comes from a guy named William Butler Yeats. And he said, education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. And I agree with that. You don't, when I was a kid, I used to think, I'll just finish high school and I'll never have to learn again. Or then I thought, I'll go to college and, when I get out of the Army, I'll finish up college. I'll never have to learn again. And it's not it. That pail full of water is going to get stale. You're not going to know things. You're going to be really good at the old IPX, SPX configurations in Linux or in our old Cisco systems. But IPX, SPX hasn't been around for 25 years. It was going out when I came up in the field, right? So where I'm going with that is you have to keep your stuff going. You have to keep your knowledge hot. And there's a lot of ways to do it. Like I try to tell you guys, get into a group, find somebody. If it's not us and if it's not the professional Linux users group, go find somebody that I don't want to say tickles your fancy, but somebody who tells you the right things and points you in the right paths, right? Find those things. Spectre said first job was writing GPL code, and then the company decided to be proprietors, and my heart has been broken ever since. Yeah, Inspector, there's a fair amount of people going the software ownership route nowadays. It's the open model is not. I think Jeff Geerling said it best. He called it kind of like a bait and switch. People start out with this open source model, but then they pull it. The owners pull the rug out from under the developers, and then call them all a bunch of freeloaders and other stuff. What were some of those Red Hat terms that they used, right? Anyways, we're not here for that stuff. We're here to talk about how we can get into the field. So serious business only. Let's see, RWX lands here too. Yeah, RWX Rob is he and I kind of raid each other a lot, and we go back and forth over there. So yeah. So that's our interesting quote. That's our random quote to get you interested. Here's my quote. This is from me, right? And I say, we're engineers. We deal in the truth. Our utility or the value added to an organization is directly what we know and how quickly we can get to the right answer. So when I say we search for truth, I mean we literally, inside of our scripts and our programs and stuff, look at ones and zeros, and we search for a value to be truth or false, and truthy and falsy and all these different things, right? But as engineers, the accuracy of what we say is of the utmost importance. The things that we build have to be fit for use and fit for warranty, and there's all these kind of things, right? So where I'm going with that is sometimes we're called on to answer best technology to some random problem, so we have to go research and design something out within maybe an architecture framework that we have or some constraints, and we have to go do that, right? And there's problems with that, and we have to figure out how to overcome those problems. Sometimes we're called on to fix a problem or troubleshoot why something's not working correctly. So there's a system in place that's like an engine of some type or an automation of some type that's running through steps, right? It's functioning through steps, and it breaks. And we've got to figure out how and why it broke. Did it break syntactically? Probably not. Did it break in the runtime because something wasn't changing that we expect? Was it breaking in the logic in that it's just, spitting out servers that aren't, being where they need to be and having IP addresses? It's not grabbing the IPAM, right? There's all kinds of things that we could have to troubleshoot. But how do we do that, right? And these are the things that we need to know. So in either case, knowledge and finding the right solutions are what we bring to the table. Now, in a different talk that we're not going to do today, I talk a lot about troubleshooting, how we troubleshoot, all those kind of things. But as far as the knowledge part of this goes, I'm going to tell you guys here, the goal of this is going to be to talk about like how to get this stuff into your head. If you want to be a better engineer, you want to get into engineering, maybe you're just working like a network operations job or something, you're like, hey, I want to get that engineer title. Well, this is a big part of what it takes. I originally gave this talk to the Professional Linux Users Group. I modified it and gave it to my college students. That's why it says after college. But also, then I stripped that off and said, this is for anyone, right? This is engineering for anyone. How to excel in the field, how to get better, how to push yourself and learn things about these things. And then to that point, if we understand what they want us to do, our value add to the business is then to understand how to keep ourselves ready to do that, how to keep ourselves sharp, how to keep ourselves our powder dry, if you will. Whatever examples you want to give from historical stay ready. The old adage, if you stay ready, you don't ever have to get ready. I'm sure if Jared's watching, he thinks that's funny. And then Abdon, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I'm hanging out, talking shop. Somebody over on the YouTube side said, how am I doing? It's Friday, right? So Fridays are our chill days. And we just kind of hang out and talk through some system stuff. I tried to get the green screen looking a little better. I think it does look a lot better, actually. So hopefully this comes out all right for you guys on the far side. So let's talk about this. By the way, I have a lot of links, and there's an older version of this presentation up in our Discord. But if you guys want me to, I'll put this newer version up there because this version has a tremendous amount of links. So I've added pages and pages to this doc that some of you have seen me go through many times. So here's our overview. Continuing education, right? Like, again, I said originally this is after college, but you could just say as an engineer, you will always have to be education, right? You will have to either be in a classroom as a teacher and leading a group and putting together your own stuff to mentor your junior engineers, or you have to go sit through classes that hopefully your company pays for or whoever you're working for pays for. But you're always going to have to be learning in this field. There's no time where you just set down your little walking stick and go, I'm done. I've learned everything there is to learn. That's not true in computer science. That's not true in systems engineering. It's simply not. So, hey, how's it going, Baba? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. So we're going to talk first about learning how we learn. And this is some stuff that I really added to this where everybody learns differently, but there's similarities. Some people are like, I will never sit down and read a book. And I say, okay, I respect that. Will you read a manual? Will you, because you have to read to be an engineer. You have to RTFM, right? Read the field manual. You have to read something. So maybe that's in shorter chunks. Maybe you don't want to think of something as a book. You want to think of it as a big PDF of documentation on a web page. Okay. Nobody's telling you have to think of it a certain way. I'm just telling you that, like, what did I spell something wrong? Techniques unknown. Did I spell something wrong? I say, did it spell something wrong? Oh, okay. I was thinking like, oh shoot, I got something wrong on here. But okay. Read the field manual. Yeah. Do you know how many times, Technique, I've stood in front of like 200 plus engineers in my career, and I'm like, yeah, don't you guys know that you have to RTFM? You all know what it means. And like, I see like the look on people's faces, like the engineers that think I'm about to crash my career. And then I say, read the field manual. And it's like, I see all of them like lean back at the same. I've been doing that for years. I think it's one of the funniest things. So it's like people are like, oh, this guy's about to tank his career in front of the execs by saying, read the effing manual, right? But I always say, read the field manual. So it's kind of funny. If I'm talking directly to an engineer, I'll tell him to read the manual, right? But RTFM, for you guys that don't know, just means go do a little bit of research and read on things. But again, I don't want to leave you at that, right? Because I could just, this presentation could have just said RTFM and then I just like hang up and go about my day and play Brotato or whatever. But that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you guys where I would focus on things as an engineer, right? So learning how you learn, tremendously important, guys. Certification. You can go the certification route. Certifications are valid. I have a whole bunch of certifications if people care about that stuff. I've had mixed results because I'm already kind of senior in my field and that stuff. So like getting a CKA, I don't really think got me anything. A CKA, which is just a Certified Kubernetes Administrator, because I think a lot of people were like, that guy already knew a lot of that stuff. Well, yeah, but I still went and got the cert. Anyways, it doesn't matter. But my point is, certifications are very valid. So we're going to talk about those. Then we're going to walk through a little bit of like my home lab stuff and things that I think that you can do to get better in this field if you want to go spend some money. If you don't want to spend money, I'm going to show you how to do a lot of that stuff out in the cloud. But we'll save like the deep implementation stuff of that for another talk, right? So, and Jaffe Taffy, yeah, thanks for coming by. Baba, this is different than like metacognition. I'm not going to show you guys how to like memorize 30 things in a row or anything. I'm just going to tell you like how people's brains work from being an educator for 15 years at the post-secondary level, right? Like I've been a college professor for 15 years now. In fact, it'll be 16 years at the in December. It'll be 16 years I've been teaching, but I'm going to tell you guys kind of like, how, and a lot of it, you're going to go, I've seen that pattern my whole career, but I never really thought anything of it, right? But it's exactly how we learn. So again, some people progress through things fast. Some people progress through things slow. Understanding how you learn will help you tremendously in keeping yourself sharp. All right. So then there's going to be some home lab stuff, and I'll show you guys some of the home lab. And then we'll do the book collection, and I'll talk about having a book collection, because I just think like, either buying them from Humble Bundle or picking them up. There's some really good Google SRE books that I'm going to link that are free. Google has free books out there if you guys didn't know. And we're going to talk through that. And then probably one of the best things I think you can do is get involved somewhere. If you tell me, hey, Scott, I want to be a Linux engineer. I want to do this open source stuff and get into working in this field more. I'll tell you, well, that's cool. Who are you talking to and who are you working with for that? And if you say nobody, I humbly submit we've got a professional Linux users group that you can hang out with. But I tell you guys all, if it's not us, find somebody. If you're like, Scott, I can't listen to you for one more second. In fact, I can't even believe I've been on here that long. Then I would tell you, then find somewhere else. I'm not telling you to leave. I'm saying find somewhere. Find somewhere where the people resonate with you. If it's just a podcast on security that you like to listen to, do that. Abdun, I have these slides up on the Discord, but I don't have this new version up. But I will put them up there today if that's okay. And you guys all have the Discord. I'll link it on the Twitch side real quick. Hold on. And then also, I'll grab that and put it on the YouTube side. Anybody's welcome to hang out down in there. You know, the goal of this group, the stated goal of all these things I do, is to take you from being a hobbyist. We're all hobbyists. We all do this stuff for fun, and help show you how to be a professional at it. Because I assure you, any one of you can go and do this. You just got to you have to spend time with it. It'd be the same thing like if you told me, Scott, I'm never going to bench 315 pounds. I say, yeah, you could. Barring missing an arm or having like a tremendous shoulder tear, we'd get you there. It might take us 5 years, but we can get you to that. A bench of 315 is not unapproachable. I did that at 18 years old, right? Like, and I went much higher than that. I'm not trying to humble brag here or anything. I'm saying any of you could do it. We have to work at it. And then if I checked on you in a month and you weren't working on it, I would be like, well, do you really want to do that? And it's the same thing with this. You guys can all do this. Please believe that. All right. I do enjoy the Security Now podcast. Yeah, techniques. Any of those links, anything you guys have, please let me know them here or drop them. We've got spaces in the Discord. Like, there's some really good security stuff. I'm going to show a set of links that I found years ago on Reddit, and I think most of the security podcasts are really good. I found them when I was working on my CISSP, so that was actually, oh God, when did I get my CISSP? 2017 maybe? 2018? Yeah, I think it was 2018, so that was like 6 years ago, but I know a lot of those security ones are still active. So, all right, so this is what we're doing. And then I tell you guys all the time, if you can't find anybody in your area or in your circle, or like you come to any of these groups that I'm going to talk about, I'm not just going to show you guys Prolog. I'm going to show you guys other places to go. You can't find anybody that's better than you at what you do, start mentoring others. If you can't find anybody to answer your questions, research them, write them down, start showing them to other people. Because that's what the industry needs. The industry needs people who are willing to ask questions, right? That's the start of this. And then when you know things, you turn around and help other people come up to where you're at. And that's something I've told like the senior guys in our Discord. I'm like, hey, look, somebody comes in here and asks a question. We don't just hit them with the RTFM. We hit them with the, hey, what have you tried? Like help them out a little bit, because you all remember when you were junior engineers, right? It didn't feel good getting hit with the RTFM for most people, so don't do it to people, right? All right, so anyway, so let's get into this a little bit. So learning how you learn. Everybody learns differently, but there are some similarities. I'm going to show you some similarities that all people go through, and your thing is going to be, I thought about this earlier and I was like, don't say it, but I'm going to say it anyways. There was a famous old American street prophet that liked to say, sometimes I rhyme slow, sometimes I rhyme quick. All right. I'm kidding. But the point is, some people learn slow and some people learn fast. I've told you guys, when I do labs, I blow through labs as fast as I can type, but I don't learn a damn thing. I have to come back through after I've built something and go, okay, that's what I was doing there. Those are all the pieces. I blow through labs like in groups of like people when I'll go and do like training over the years. I'll try to be the first one done. But then I'll look around and be like, okay, I'm the first one done. But then I'll have to go back and read and work on stuff to like really understand it, which is one of the reasons why the little lab book that I made has so many questions, because it slows you down and makes you think about what you're doing, right? You can just push the button. All of our labs that are free up on Killer Coda, you can literally just push the buttons and it'll finish the lab for you. But did you actually like learn anything? Did you actually absorb anything? So, okay, so everybody learns differently, but there are ways to do this more effectively than others. You got to figure out a schedule that works for you. And then part of that is you do not find time, you make time. What do I mean by that? If you say, Scott, I have to be to work at 8 every morning, I say, all right, well then, if you hop in the shower at, 7:30 or something, you hop in the shower at 7:15, you need to get up at 6:45 and do 30 minutes of study. Whatever it's going to be for you, you have to figure it out, but you have to make that time. A lot of people say, I don't have time for the gym. Well, do you get up before 5 a.m.? They're like, no, I got to be to work at 8. And you're like, you got like 3 or 4 hours to get up early and go to the gym, buddy. You got to take some maybe off the back end of watching your Netflix at night or whatever, but right, my point in all this is you don't find time, you make time. And then this is huge. This is huge. This is how colleges do it. All my colleges have done it. When I went to school, I'm in my doctorate program right now. You have to do a little bit daily. It's better than trying to cram on a Sunday night and learn. I have my students that are doing Cisco right now in the college that I teach at, and they're doing their CCNA work, and it's like, if you just try to cram this on a Friday night, you try to cram like 4 hours of Cisco, you're not going to learn anything. But if you could just spend a little time during the week working on it, doing, 5 to 15 commands each day and just practicing some little sets of steps, you're probably going to learn a lot more. Same thing with the gym. You don't go to the gym once a week and expect any results. You got to do it consistently over time. Your brain is only slightly different than your body in that regards, as far as like doing something a little bit every day, right? And again, I'm not being prescriptive. I'm not telling you go to Killer Coda and do 1 lab a day and finish it. And that is a thing you could do. But the point is learn. Can you sit and watch videos for hours? Not everybody can do that. I can do that. I can actually work on another screen and just like listen to stuff over here. Like I'll listen to reInvent videos. Sometimes I have to pause it, like if they're talking to a diagram or something, then I'll come back to it. But some people, if you're watching videos on 1x speed, I did that for years. And then somebody was like, why don't you listen to videos faster? And I was like, I never thought about that. And then I found that I can listen to videos at about 1.75. Then some of the engineers, some of the guys down in our Discord, some of the younger guys, they're like, oh, I listen to stuff at 3 and I get it. And I'm like, that's pretty damn good, because you can get 3 times the content in you if you're watching videos, if you can watch them that fast. I can't really do that, though. I got like 1.75 is about good for me, for most people. Some people talk really slow and then whatever. I imagine people, if you're rewatching this, you could speed it up or whatever on YouTube. You can't speed it up if you're watching live because you can't make me go any faster, right? I've already been accused of talking too fast as it is. But anyways, do you guys know what a Pomodoro timer is? Does anybody here know what a Pomodoro timer is? They'll be like the 15:45 splits or like a 10:50 split. What is it? It's a little split timer. And it's a timer where, okay, if I do 50 minutes of dedicated work on whatever I'm doing, studying, if it's studying, then I get 10 minutes to go walk around and play with the dog and check my Facebook and do whatever. Nobody's saying you can't ever do that, guys. They're just saying you got to be like, man, it's really hard. Like I've found this in my life. If I've got my phone in my hand, I am not learning. Like if I'm playing with my phone and watching something, like I said earlier, I could be like doing work and stuff. I can't be playing on my phone though. It's too engaging, right? Like if you're watching like shorts or something, watching all these people that like generate shorts and stuff and just like this, ephemeral content that's literally worth nothing to anybody, right? But if you're just watching those, you're not learning. So I'd say put the phone down, use a Pomodoro timer. Even if your timer split is 15:5 or something, 15 minutes of dedicated stuff, 5 minutes of I can play with my phone or whatever. And have a little timer. You can download them. If you've never seen one, it looks like this. So I just go to here and just do like Pomodoro. Right? And you get like there's Pomodoro timers right online. And look, I haven't even been on this one, but my timer is 5, and then my short break will be 5, and then I can just start it. Notification is please allow it by using the bell bar. Okay. Yeah, so this will run. Oh, we'll come over here, and we'll just start our normal thing, and it'll run through, and then it'll bell for us when it's time to take either a short break or a long break, right? And we can configure that. We can have that on another screen. We can bask in a really red glow. All right, let me get this out of here. Leave. All right. So, figure out what schedule works for you. But again, you got to make time. If you're like, well, I'm going to do it at night, I advise doing things like studying in the morning. And there's a reason why. When you go to do stuff at night, and this is like me with like, oh, I'm going to stretch out every night right before I go to bed. But if you're tired, you just pour yourself into bed and you don't do it. Same thing with studying, right? Like if it's the last thing you do for the day, you might not do it. You might just be like, I'll just go to sleep or whatever. All right. And then this is another one. Figure out what you're interested in. Take a self-assessment on what interests you, right? We have a little self-assessment form. It is not like it's not a one size fits all, but it's a start, right? You come down here. It's in our Discord, but I'm going to link it. I'm going to just show it here. It's called the self-assessment matrix. And what this is it's a methodology for you to assess yourself. What's interesting to you? What do you want to get this stuff out of the way? Hold on. All right, there we go. What's interesting to you? What do you want to get better at? There's 2 basic like little things that I have in here. There's the your technical self-assessment, and this could be, you could change this to anything you want. You do an assessment of yourself, and then your interests. And if you find that you're not very good at security, but you're also not very interested in security, then throw it out. Who cares? But you can find maybe the things that are interesting to you, and then in the business space, things that you're good at or not, and then things that you're interested or not. And then you can use this to kind of go through the methodology and figure out what's interesting and what you want to do, right? There's all kinds of things you can do with this life. It's up to you, right? But that rule applies in all this. Like, nobody's coming. Once you leave college, once you stop paying somebody to tell this stuff to you, gotta do it yourself, guys. No, like that's one of the main things. I would say that's one of the main things here. excelling in the engineering field is going to be based on you and how much time you want to spend mastering this as a craft, right? If you say, I don't really have much interest in it, I'd go, well, I'm not saying, and again, some guys do this better than others. Some people are super sharp, and some people, they learn something the first time they read it. Some of us have to work on it. We just have to do it. SK, how's it going? Yep, you made it. All right, let's keep going. Find out what you're interested in. So now, I said right here at the top, everyone learns differently. But then I also said there are ways to do things more effectively, and there are also, even though some of you, like let me tell you something I know about myself. I've been an engineer for 20 years. I know this about myself. I have an above average ability to retain things in my head. I have an above average memory. Like if you gave me a list of a bunch of servers, I'll remember a bunch of them. I am not smarter than the average person, though. And you say, wait a minute, that's not true. Nope. Hold on. I work with engineers that can do calculus. I know two guys that can do calculus, area under a curve in their head. I've met two of them. They're both really smart guys. I can't do that shit. I got to write it down on paper. In fact, I probably got to go look up. I mean, if I was working with it, I'd probably remember the calculus equation. But in general, I don't do that stuff in my head. I know guys that do that, though. So my point is, understand what you're good at. Me, I'm good at remembering things. I'm good at putting things into order positionally. I'm also really good at outlining. That's one of the things that I'm kind of good at as an engineer. But it's good to understand what you're good at. And then it's good to understand what you're not good at. I am not necessarily skilled in any way of like generating new, code or those kind of things. Those aren't things I'm skilled at. But I remember things well, and it helps me out a lot in the systems world, designing things and building servers out and stuff like that. So that's something I've been able to. Not very good with self-interest. All right, so check this out. Here's the first part. This is what's called Bloom's taxonomy. If you've never seen this before, this is a way that teachers teach. It's true all the way down to like kindergarten level, and it's true all the way up to post-secondary education, right? But this is how people learn. This is also how people impart knowledge to other people. But at the beginning, we all start at level 1 in any field, right? It's like the first time you lockpick in a game and you get lockpicking level 1, and then you have to build it up. It's the same idea. But the first two pieces of this are how we start out, recalling basic facts. If you've ever studied something and the very first thing they give you is like all the key terms, it's almost like an appendix, or some people call it like a glossary test. If you've ever taken a certified cloud practitioner or an AZ900, which are like the two entry-level certs to the industry for cloud, they are very much just regurgitating information up. Just, here it is, you gave me this, here it is back, right? Tab did. Yeah. So it's just understanding keywords and that kind of stuff, right? So that's remembering. And then understanding is kind of explaining the ideas or concepts. So, maybe if we were talking about earlier with the remembering, you understood that there was an SQS. There's a thing called a simple queuing service. It's the very first service that was ever produced by Amazon Web Services. It was the simple queuing service. I think it started in 2006. And it was their very first cloud service, right? But explaining the idea or concepts behind it is kind of more along the line of, I say, okay, well, SQS sits there. You've got an API endpoint to hit. You can send data in. It can be up to X amount of, I think it's like 5 megs or something, whatever data message you send in. Data message sits in an inbound queue, and then you can either alert or have something poll. Typically, since it's a queuing service, somebody is going to poll, P-O-L-L, against that. And they are going to either do short polls or long polls. Long polls are held open for up to 10 seconds. They're like these long reads where they sit there and wait for messages to show up. Or short polls can be every few seconds, but they don't wait at all, just to see if there's anything in there. And you have to decide how that works for your data pattern and how much usage you want to have hitting that API and doing calls against and that kind of stuff. And okay, I understand the concept. I understand that once something's read, it goes into a queue where it can't be seen. It's like a hold down queue. I forget the exact name of that queue, but it stays within that queue, but it's invisible It's a visibility queue. That's what it is. And then after 30 seconds, if there's no closing out of that work, it becomes active again, and somebody else can read it, right? But if the other work is done and it sends a message, that moves out of the queue into a background, and then actually you can do a bunch of different stuff with it, and you can throw it out. You can save it in a queue. If it spins too many times in that visibility timeout where it can't be seen, then you can throw it into what's called a dead letter queue, and then that dead letter queue can be worked through with other processes, right? So anyways, this is a more of an understanding of SQS than just remembering that there's a service called SQS that is an API endpoint that we throw data at, right? Like that kind of stuff. Then we start talking about then we apply information, use information in new situations to answer questions or solve problems. So now this is where like a solutions architect associate starts to kind of come in, where I'd say solutions architect associate is down here, and then pro is like maybe even up to here with evaluating. You're not really producing anything new in any of these. But anyway, so you're here, use information in new situations to answer questions or solve problems. So they tell you the problems that the organization has, and then they give you some examples, and you have to choose how you would use this SQS versus like an SNS or all kinds of different things, right? And that's what applying the information is you understand the information. Do you know how so here you understand all the pieces. Here you understand how they fit together. Here you start to understand how they move as they're kind of in the wild, right? If you want to think of it like that. And Sean Alvarado, you're here again. Thanks for coming by. We're just kind of talking about how we learn and these kind of things. Then we analyze. Can we take apart information to show relationships, causes, and connections? So can we take each of these individual pieces and break them down modularly and talk about how we can improve one or another, right? And we go up a little bit and we justify a standard position in our upper level courses, typically like master's and doctorate level courses. Right here, we will form what's called an argument, right? It's not that we're arguing with somebody, but it's argumentation. I not only say, I don't just say things like economies. Maybe I just had something that I was talking about with like economies, and say economies suffer under inflation, right? That is actually taking a stance on that, and then I would build or justify that position, and then some other people might say, well, no, actually under inflation, this and this and this are beneficial because then it expands this, and there could be reasons on either side of that. I'm not getting into all that, but what I'm telling you is you take a position and then you defend it with other work that people have done, other studies that you've done, work that you're doing. And then a lot of times you start with a hypothesis and then you either try to prove or prove the null hypothesis, right? You don't disprove hypotheses typically, you prove the null. And then that's where we start to talk into creating something new, right? But this is how we walk through things. And then some of the stuff that I was doing with you guys where we were doing like the Socratic method for learning Linux or Ansible, which I still got to finish the Socratic stuff for Ansible. Just Fridays are more chill days, so I'm not working super hard today. We're just going through a lab. We're going through a presentation I've done a lot. These are just some new slides on it. But what the idea was I was getting you up to here with Socratic method. I'm making you do things up, not just remembering, oh yeah, we're on a Linux box and we typed in this command and the command did a thing. Yeah, that's the first level knowledge. You type commands in and box gives answer back. Okay, sure. But could we understand the pieces and could we go through it? All right, so this is Bloom's taxonomy. If you've never seen it before, this is the way that we teach college, post-secondary education for learners. Tends to be, your bachelor's level tends to be like 1, 2, maybe up into 3. Your master's level is 3 up through 5, and then your doctorate level tends to be 5 and 6. If you guys didn't know that, that's kind of the breakdown of Bloom's taxonomy in the big scheme of things as far as expertise goes, right? But the Bloom's taxonomy is just about knowledge. It's not about how you apply that knowledge to tasks. So there's a model here. Let me ask this. Has anybody here ever seen the unconscious competence model? I learned about this in college, and one of my professors missed a class, and he had the substitute, and the substitute just sat there and talked about this with us the whole time. And I'm like, this is one of the most, like, this probably stuck with me more than almost anything I learned in college. Oh, I'm sure I still know some technical things that I've picked up and that kind of stuff, but this stuck with me. This is how you learn things right here. You're all going to start on the bottom left there, but I don't know if I can get a show of hands or anything, or a show of your little Linux themes. Has anybody ever seen one of this before? One of these, the conscious competence model? Has anybody here ever seen this? About how you learn things. This is specifically how you apply learning to hands-on right here. Anybody ever heard of this? I'm not seeing anything, so I'm going to assume that's a no. Big fat no from everybody. All right, that's fine. You have seen it? Well, good, because this is really how people learn things. So you start down here. You've got two axes right here. You've got the conscious, unconscious, and then you've got incompetence and competence, right? The zone of proximal development. That's probably a big rat dog. That sounds like something I've heard, but I haven't heard it said that way, so maybe I'll have to look that up. But this is typically where most people start. This is where you start over here. You don't know what you don't know. This is like for people that have ever done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You walk in a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym and you don't know what you don't know, and you're about to get beat up by the smallest person in the room, right? You don't know what you don't know. You think that you know stuff, but then you find out very quickly you don't, right? Then, so this is systems world. You don't know what you don't know about Rust, right? I don't know nothing about Rust. I know people like to argue about it online. That's all I know about Rust. But I'm unconsciously incompetent of Rust and anything about it. I know that it's a programming language. I know that, actually, I don't even know anything else besides that. I literally don't. But I could say, well, I know I don't know, but I want to get better at it. So then I would move up here. It's very easy to get from the first step to the second step. I'm consciously incompetent. I don't know, but I know that I don't know, and I want to learn. My tasks here, if I were trying to do something, would be clumsy. I'd probably be following along behind other people and watching like tutorial videos, or picking up a book and doing, some kind of snippets of code and figuring that kind of stuff. We'll do that. Spoiler said, in production, when updating packages, what do you do when packages are held back? What's holding them back, Spoiler? Is it your systems are holding them back, like you've locked a kernel in? Or are you talking like they're just not even being produced by whatever upstream repository you're using? I guess that's what I would ask. For me, if I lock in a version, I just make sure that the version is locked in, and then I explain to management, we will continue to cascade and have more and more packages that are held back from this one. Like if I don't upgrade the kernel, if I don't move to a new kernel, I can't move these other packages forward, and it'll become a compounding effect as we go. But I don't. I guess I'd need to know more, Spoiler. But that's my thoughts on it. If I'm updating packages and they're just not coming down from the repo, it doesn't matter because I don't have anything unless I'm in the business of writing packages. Then I got to write them myself. But most of the time in the systems world, we stay out of that. Just today that it said a few packages were held back. Yeah, Spoiler, it depends. If you don't have a specific reason for moving those packages forward, they could have been held back by, like if you use Yum, you've got an Etsy yum.conf file, and you can have things excluded in there. You can also exclude things at the command line of both the apt and the Yum. You have excludes on there. You can also lock things for versions in repositories for apt and Yum. You can lock versions in for things. So, yeah, I'd check that. Make sure that Yum version lock, that's a command in Red Hat. Make sure that that's not on. Because I've seen version lock set on things, and then things won't change until you turn off the version locking of either the individual items or all the items. So hopefully that answers that question. So you're consciously incompetent, and you start to get better because you've been working through stuff and you've been learning your Rust or whatever it is. And then you develop proficiency and knowledge, but you actually have to actively think. Like I have to specifically think every time I write out like a framework or I start to make a function. I'm like, oh, it's like function this with the parentheses. I don't know any Rust, but if I did, and then I say, oh, it's an open curly bracket and a closed curly bracket, it's whatever, right? Moop, you're past your 6-month probation. Well, hopefully you stay out this time. No, I'm just kidding. You passed it with work, right? And also, Thank you for fixing and using the correct past. I do appreciate that. It's PASSED, computer. God. Those things are even spelling stuff wrong for me. I need a compilation of all the times my closed captioning makes me look like I'm... Anyways, all right, I'll be good. So, we're consciously competent, and then you become unconsciously competent. You don't even have to think about it, and you're proficient applying the task, applying the knowledge you have to real tasks. So you don't even think about it. But there's a danger to unconscious incompetence. One of the reasons I learned this model, and I think it's so important, is I think you have to break yourself. You have to actively, because you're going to move around this model in things you do. Think about the first time you ever drove a car. For those of you that drive, you were down here. You were like sitting behind that car going, and I learned on a stick shift. My uncle taught me how to drive on a stick shift. I had to shift through the gears, right? And I finally got pretty good, but I still had to think about my shifting and what I was doing. And then I came over here and I was pretty good at it, but I still had to kind of, focus every now and then this and this. But then after a while, I could cruise, right? Most of you guys that have ever driven a stick shift, after some time, you're just cruising along. But in the systems world, this is very dangerous down here. I try to tell you guys, you got to break yourself from going down here, because what you'll find is 10 years later, you're just in the same spot cruising and you're very good at your one little discipline, but things in the industry have kind of gone on by you. So I try to tell you guys, you want to break out of being here and you want to live up here in the systems world, in the engineering world. Stay here where you develop proficiency and you're good at what you do, but also keep working on these other things and keep working around so that you're like, okay, I'm pretty good at Linux, right, guys? I've been doing Linux for 20 years. I'm pretty okay at it. So I really focused on security for a large part of that. And then I was also focusing on Kubernetes for a large part of that. And then I was focusing on cloud recently to get a lot of the cloud certs and to understand how the cloud works, right? And be able to do this. But I wanted to stay up here. I didn't just want to be down here coasting in any of my spaces. And, if I feel like I know Linux well, I'll go back through and reread something and keep working on different areas where I'm not very good in the system, Yep, with work, they're all happy on what you're getting done. Nice, Moop Moop. Yeah, that's really good. I like that you're past the 6-month probation at work, so that's good. Give you a little more leeway now. Yeah, Abdon, yeah, the manual. Yeah, I loved driving manual when I was younger, but as I got older, I'm like, I'll go ahead and stick with the automatic. This is a way, but it is a very common way that you learn things, especially hands-on tasks, typing tasks, and like driving and manual things. Like, this is kind of how you learn. So, thinking through it, this is important to understand Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy is a thing you can go study and read about a little bit. It's very well known and well used. And this is what's called the conscious competence model. I also heard it might be called the zone of proximal development. And that may be something very similar to this. Again, not prescriptive. This stuff is things to know maybe about yourself and how you might learn things, okay? All right, that's all the stuff on learning how you learn. Let's get down into like stuff that I think that you can spend time with, right? So things that, again, this was for my ProLug group, and then I did for my college students, and I added some things in. But there are a lot of certification bodies. There are a lot of people out there that have what are called BOK, B-O-K, body of knowledge, right? Thinks I said B-O-K. All right, ISC squared. I'm pretty, I don't want to say embedded with them, but I do a lot of stuff with them. I have my CISSP and my CCSP. I try to get people ready for those certs. A couple people in our Discord over the years have went and passed those. I show you guys things to go study. There's a really good thing to go study the sunflower document if you're trying to get into that space to understand that stuff. There's a brand new one out as of, I think, last year. It's called Certified in Cybersecurity. It's entry level, and I'm working on some training for that for people. I'll do it online here, but also maybe we'll have some groups, down in the ProLug Discord where we meet up and talk through some of the stuff, and people can ask questions and stuff like that. But even if you say, Scott, I'm not going to go take the test. It's too expensive, right? All these tests are too expensive. I say, okay, fine. but go understand the pieces, you know, be able to put on a resume, have studied the 8 domains of the CISSP. Because then if somebody says, oh, you've studied them, well, what do you think about like domain security, and what do you think about access control lists and this, whatever they can ask you, you can go, oh yeah, well, I studied that a little bit. I understand that. Didn't take the test yet, right? You can even say you didn't take it yet, even though you yet is where you don't ever intend to take it, but that's fine. You still understand the topics and understand the things people are looking for. CompTIA has a bunch of them that are pretty okay. There's the Security Plus, which I think is pretty well respected. There's a government standard. I think it's 8607. Is that what it is? 8670. Is that right? Government standard. I always forget which one this is. No, that's probably not government standard for security. What is it? 8670, 8570. That's what it is. 8570. And if you guys have never seen the 8570, this is a U.S. government thing, so it's not as much for people outside. But it is still valid to see what people are kind of looking for. And these are actually approved baseline certifications for these different levels, and these levels come into contracting. So for government projects, if you're trying to get like your company to get a government project, you might have to have people with some of these different certs to be able to attain some of the different levels of support for the certification or whatever. So I linked that to you guys. That's not really a big part of the talk here, but that's something that's kind of important. Sec Plus meets that. So does the CISSP and CCSP. They meet different baselines of that, right? Then there's the Linux Foundation. They've got the CKA, the CKAD, the CKS, which are a bunch of Kubernetes certs. They're hands-on certs. And all the training for them is over at the Linux Foundation. They've got a full catalog over there. You can just go to training.linuxfoundation.org if you want to do that. I have the CKA and the CKAD, and they're very hands-on. They're like a 2-hour test, and you have like 17 or 18 tasks that you only have about 6 minutes per task to blow through to get those certifications, right? And we do those on stream sometimes, and I got some labs on those and all that kind of stuff, right? Then there's cloud certs, and the cloud certs have a just surprising amount of free training in them. There's a lot of free training here for the Amazon stuff. Let's see if I can get this to come up. Skip verification. So Amazon training has all kinds of stuff here. What's the one that everybody's always doing? Let's see if they have it here. Yeah, Skill Builder will walk you through some of the different pieces. And then there's actually like a little game that almost looks like what's that game that everybody plays? God, it's been around since I was a kid. You're always beating up the cops and running away from the cops. I think it's like Rockstar Games or something. What the hell's that called? It's a cop one. Well, you're beating up cops the whole time. Grand Theft, yeah, GTA, Grand Theft Auto, that's what it is. Yeah, you know, it's been around since I was a kid. Like, I mean, I was like a teenager, I think, when that came out. You would like run around. It was a top-down game. The very first one was like you look down at it from the top down. But yeah, Grand Theft Auto, that's exactly right. Hey, thanks for the follows, guys. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. And then you got Azure, right? And look, whether you like Microsoft or not, I'm going to tell you something. They've got a lot of really good free challenges. And look at this. They've got a challenge going on right now. What is it? May 21st to June 21st. I'm going to link this to you guys. And the reason I'm going to link it to you, because if you've never done this before, you can do... Yeah, Grand Theft Auto, Baba, you got it over there. You guys on the YouTube side had it as well. But they have a really good... They have so much free stuff. But whenever they show this, grow your skills, and then you say register now, when you go down and look at this, you can pick the challenge you want, right? And then when you do it, it'll give you this challenge is for Power BI data analysts looking to prepare for the DP600. So it'll get you ready for that. And then if you see the official rules for the challenges, they give you Leisure Suit Larry. I remember that one from when I was a kid. Let's see if we have it. The challenge will give you got to be in the right time zones, by the way. They'll give you a Microsoft Learn profile badge. That's cool. Some of these challenges will give you a free test or half off the test. So I'm just going to tell you, it's super important to know where you can go find these things. I linked that for you guys. Here's the AWS one. Here's the This is another AWS one, right? For any of those topics. Plus, we have a lot of people in our Discord that have these. Me and Fisherman, we're doing a bunch of these. He's got 6 of his AWS certs, and I've got 5 of them. He's also a solutions architect with a big cloud provider. So he has a little more invested with that cloud provider, but you can probably guess which one it is. But anyways, there's a bunch of certs out there, guys. These certifications all cost money. Not the training, but the cost of the certification is for money. This one, I have a bunch of certs right here, and I'm going to get more. But these are ones that I know that are 100% free. The cert is free, and the studying is free right here. So, let me show them to you, okay? Interesting, good to know for the discount. Yeah, the discount stuff's important. But let's say you have... Remember I said earlier, you don't need... Hold on. Let me just find Stream Acoustic. Here we go. Okay. Let's say you're not going to take you're not going to pay for anything. I get it. Some of us are earlier on in our careers. Some of us don't have any extra money to spend. I get it. These are all certs right here where the training is 100% free and the certification itself is 100% free. Different people in the Discord, Inspector, if Inspector's still around on the Twitch side, he's the one that told me about this one, the networking one. But these are free to go study, and they're free to take the test. So if you told me, hey, Scott, I don't have any certs, I can't get in the industry, and I said, well, what have you tried? And you're like, oh, nothing. I tried nothing. Well, okay, we've all tried nothing, and nothing didn't get anywhere. So let's do this. Do you want to just understand processes? The Six Sigma process is very well known and very well respected. And oh, geez, why did this pop up over here? Here's your Six Sigma white belt training right here. It's free. It's free to take the cert. It's free to take the studying. Oh yeah, Inspector, that one's a better link. Hold on. So let me link this one for you guys. People that want to go take free training, free certs. Some certifications worth saving. Yeah. Look, and maybe here's the thing. This is process improvement, and every business needs to do processes better. Whether it's building stuff in manufacturing with like Lean Six Sigma or any of these other ones. But my point is, if you just have a resume, guys, if your resume is just a blank page, you got your name and your address at the top, put something on it. I don't know what you want to put on it, right? Again, none of this is prescriptive. It's just me showing you guys things that are out there to do and kind of relaxing on a Friday, right? We're just hanging out. It's Friday, listening to the acoustic guitar in the background. I like this song. It's pretty good. I bought a little Humble Bundle a while back that had a bunch of music, so I could play it on stream. Six Sigma, right there. Let's go back here. Maybe you want to be, maybe you're like, all right, Scott, I don't want to be, Six Sigma's too generic, but it is engineering, guys. That is an engineering concept there. It's statistics, process modeling, understanding how to do forms and deploy template. It's all kinds of things that are engineering based. So if you had nothing, that's worth something. Let's jump down. We're going to jump down to this one just because Inspector mentioned it over on the Twitch side. This one is Hurricane Electric. So here it is. I'm going to link it. He linked it over there already. So I'll link it over to you guys on the YouTube side. Does Red Hat certs have discounts? Chickenod or Chickode, I don't know. I don't do anything with Red Hat certs directly, but you could probably find some discounts. I know I've worked at places where they've offered free certs. If you spend enough money with Red Hat, they'll give you a free amount of certs for the year to go take. Django, do you like that? I got a little green screen sitting behind me, and the impetus, Django, was we kind of, I don't want to say we blew up, but we got kind of more popular on YouTube. So I've had 150,000 views in the last month. So that's probably not much for some people, but for me, it's a whole lot. But yeah, so I decided to make it a little more professional. I got the microphone right in front of me so you guys can hear the ASMR. And then I got the, what do we got behind me here? We got a green screen. Real green. All right, I'm kidding. But anyway, so Hurricane Electric. When I first heard of this, like when Inspector first told me about this cert, I was like, Hurricane Electric, who the hell are those guys? I'm like, what the hell's a Hurricane Electric? But apparently when you go look at them and read about them, they're like this worldwide network of pipes for internet, right? So go take this. Look at all this training they have, man. And actually when you register, they give you access to a bunch of stuff. So they train you, and then they do it, and then Inspector, do they still give you a shirt They used to send you a shirt that said you were IPv6 certified through HE. And I'm like, it's a free thing. It's free. So they were just sending shirts for free to people. I'm like, dude, that's wonderful. Yeah. Yeah, Django. It's always been this microphone, but it used to sit about a foot away from my face. I used to have it off to the side and like laid over. So it's the same microphone. I like these Blue Yetis. I've had this one for years, but it's just yeah. I actually picked these up because my college used to use them. And my favorite thing about them was when I was talking to students, any student out in the room, when they would talk, this would pick them up clear for my recording. So I would do we called it on live modality. I would teach in the class and then also record it for the students. Yeah, Inspector, we're going to have, so if anybody goes and takes this, let us know down in the Discord. If anybody goes and takes it, it's free, right? Like, isn't free the best cost ever? Go take this and then let Inspector know, or pop in stream and let us know, hey, they sent me a shirt. Because, yeah, they used to send shirts out. Oh, yeah, because it has multiple. Yeah, Cypher Enigma. There's this little thing on it where, yeah, you can do different patterns and stuff. But even just the default for this is really good for two people sitting across a table. But, yeah, I think it was just that I always had it sitting a little far from me. And I wanted it out of the way. But then I realized I don't think anybody really cares if the microphone's sitting directly in front of me. So I'm just going to leave it there. So, all right. Hurricane Electric. We're talking about certifications that are free. And then the API lifecycle and security. So there's an API Academy one. So apiacademy.co. Dude, this is literally just picking whichever one of these it wants to go to. It's so annoying. This is free as well. I will link this to you guys. I think most of you guys can grab that one. It's apiacademy.co. I'm going to tell you guys why I know this isn't going anywhere. Abdun, I appreciate that. He said we deserve millions of subs. Hey, you know what? On the YouTube side, subs are free, so I think it's like a like on Twitch. Just follows are free, right? Like, do them. But API Academy, the reason this is so good, guys, the reason this is so good is this. It's not going anywhere. It's under Broadcom. So Broadcom, same company that just bought VMware recently, right? Yeah, I think Broadcom bought them. But in these three little certification levels they give you pretty cool little badges to go put on your LinkedIn. Again, if you have an empty resume, this is something. It's free. And let's take all that aside for a second. I think this is excellent training. It's about 6 hours for each of the courses. So you got 18 hours of training right there for the low cost of 000. It's free 99, right? Free 99. The best cost. And you get these cool little things that you go put on your LinkedIn that say you understand how APIs work. And not just that, you do understand how APIs work because you've worked through them and you've worked through their life cycles. One of our guys, he hasn't been around for a while, YGBSM, he put together a really good study guide that goes with their material. So it's based on all their material and through their labs and stuff. It's a really good study guide that if you're taking the tests, because you get 3 free tests with them. I don't know what happens if you miss them, but what did he call it? He called it the Pathfinder's Guide. So if you go on our Discord, it's Pathfinders. So if you just look for that. Have you seen the price of VMware licensing since the Broadcom buyout kind of gets rid of small to mid business? Django, I've heard about it. I haven't seen it, but I've heard that it's like an order of magnitude higher. So for anybody that doesn't know, that means you add a 0 at the end of it, right? It's times 10. I've heard it's high. I've heard it's real high, Django. I haven't looked at it though. Okay. So, all the free certs that I know about and the free training for taking that cert right there. I want to give a nod to one certification that's not free anymore. I think they discontinued the cert in general, but we're going to get to it here in the next slide. But Gremlin Engineering used to have a chaos engineering. It was called Gremlin Chaos Engineering, and I loved taking that cert and prepping for that. We actually did it down in the Discord a few years back. You can't get the cert anymore from them, but it was a really cool little badge that you got for doing it. Little internet badge or whatever. But you can still do all the training. So I'll still show you guys all the training links. But I don't think their cert is free anymore. I think they have a different cert that costs some money now. So I'd like to give a nod to them that they have an excellent course You just don't get a cert at the end of the course anymore. Like you used to have to go pass the test. It was a challenge, but it was on chaos engineering. So some of you are probably like, "Ooh, chaos engineering, that sounds interesting." I'll show you all the stuff. But again, there's just no cert at the end that shows you like, hey, I finished this body of knowledge, and it's just not something that you can put on a resume anymore, right? I mean, you still put on a resume if you finish it. I'm just saying you won't have the little cert badge like they used to have. All right. So here's free training where certification is not free, or there's no certification with it. You have all the hands-on labs on Killer Coda. I've linked Killer Coda a million times. You can just go to that link if you want. There's all the other belt levels of Six Sigma. So I sent you guys earlier the Six Sigma white belt. The training and the certification are free for white belt. And I believe that's also true for the Lean Sigma. So you can get the Lean Six Sigma and the Six Sigma white belt. Shit, at least have something on your resume, right? Do you think CCNA is worthwhile if I'm currently studying software engineering? I will tell you, I have a CCNA from 2002. I passed mine in 2002. If you're not going to be directly working in network engineering, and if you're not going to be directly a Cisco engineer, I would not spend as much time with the CCNA. Like, I spent a lot of time getting that cert because I was in the Army and I was an infantry guy and I didn't know any better. But now, like in the industry, I wouldn't have spent nearly as much time on the CCNA. I would have went some of that other stuff. Will this recording be in a repository when it's done? YouTube will always hold this, Nick. So I think this will be around forever. This slide deck will be in my presentations at the bottom of the Discord. So I don't have it up there yet because I'm still kind of editing it as we go. But in fact, I'm going to fix the thing that Inspector showed earlier. But yeah, this slide deck will be available with all the links, yes. There's an older version of this that's up there now, but, you know, there's that. But more free training. So again, more free stuff. All the other levels of Six Sigma. So I'm going to link this just so I can pull it up here. Right, here's our Six Sigma stuff. This is the same one that I pulled up earlier, but it's the generic. Let's go look if the white belt for Lean Six Sigmas. So get certified. Let's look at the Lean Six Sigma. Let's go look at their white belt. Is their white belt on this one also free? Yeah. So guys, I lied to you. There's 2 certifications you can go get for free from this organization. But let me show you about their training. This is one of my favorite things about them. This blows me away as like something that provides value to people. They say right here, free self-study Six Sigma training courses, and all of the full edition manuals are there. And the reason is because they want to keep training providers honest. If somebody's going to charge you for thousands of dollars, they don't want them to just give you a textbook. So by having free self-study, people have to add some value. So like if I was going to say, hey, guys, come down in the Discord and, I'll only charge you $50 and I'll give you and then I just pull up the Six Sigma stuff and you're like, he got that shit for free. He's just reading to us from the book. That wouldn't be any value to people. But guys, there's training courses that are built like that, where it's like literally thousands of dollars for a week of training and you don't get anything out of it because all you had to do was go study a little bit. What is the use of Six Sigma? Six Sigma is a statistical, it's a process methodology, SK, of reducing errors, what we call defects per million opportunities, DPMOs. We try to get in any 100 or in any 1 million instances of opportunities for failure, we try to get down to 3.14 or less. And that's what it is. And then we use upper and lower controls and we build all these models in and we figure out where our failures are happening and we go and we fix them. That's what it is, Suresh. It is a process management, process improvement methodology using very basic statistics that I think anybody can do. If you probably took, if you went up through like in the American system, if you went up through like sophomore level math, you could probably do it. If you did some college math and stuff, especially like some basic statistics, I think all this stuff is easy for you. Really. This is much more, there's statistics in here, but it's much more around the processes involved of collecting the data and knowing where to apply those statistics, which is, there's not, let me call it math light. Can I please call it math light? I told you guys earlier, I've got a good memory, but I'm not any faster on the processing than anybody else. Like, I can do Six Sigma math pretty easy. I think you guys can too, right? I'm not some genius engineer that does it all in his head or anything, right? But I think you guys can do it. And here's all you can go download the free training right there. Even if you're not going to use it, it's free right there. All right. So there we go. That's all the other belt levels of Six Sigma. So let me back up here real quick. I got to fix 2 things. Real quick. Hold on. Don't Don't worry about that. That's my home lab stuff. Let me pull up my, hold on. Pull up this presentation at, where's this presentation at? I want to fix this one to be, do I still have it there? Nope. Where's it at? Inspector. I know Inspector linked it earlier. There it is. Hold on, I'm getting Inspector. That's exactly what I didn't want to do. Hold on. Let's grab a format painter. Color that thing the right things. Boom. That's fine, whatever. Yeah, okay, good. That gets you guys right down to the certification. Perfect. And then I'll fix that other stuff later. But up here, I want to say that you also have in the same thing. Oh, whoops. You also have this. Lean Six Sigma. So you got Lean Six Sigma one as well. And that one was over here. Where's that at? So there's the Six Sigma cost for free. Again, they're free. I'm not making that up, guys. The Lean Six Sigma white belt is also free. So that one's also free. All right, let's get this out of here. Boom. All right. So when you guys are looking at this later, you're like, oh, okay, well, Scott said that some of the stuff was free. There you go. All right. So Terraform and Vault. Terraform and Vault are both by HashiCorp. We have, I feel like HashiCorp in general has been going the way of the proprietor. I guess that's the way Inspector puts it, and I kind of agree with him. They have taken open source things and made them closed source, for lack of a better term. They're calling it business source licensing and all these other things, but it's just not, it's not open source. It's open source where you can look at it and then they get mad at you if you use it. So it's kind of like a super weird thing to call anything but proprietary code, right? It's proprietary, but they're showing it to you and daring you to use it with it, which by the way has already come up with OpenTofu. And I've told you guys, like, OpenTofu is going to get effed when IBM gets involved, which IBM is in the course right now. They've bought HashiCorp, in case you guys don't know that. But then you say, well, Scott, how do you know? What, are you being one of those guys that you're going to tell us later, the infotainment guys that we shouldn't listen to? No? Let me show you. There's a thing called, there's this old tool right here called OpenLava. And if you ever want to go read an interesting story of what happens when IBM buys Platform LSF and then OpenLava forks off of it and then OpenLava gets until it's gone, this is what happened. And I can almost promise you, with the things that have been happening and being said between HashiCorp and OpenTofu project, I can promise you it's about to happen. It's going to look just like this. And I'm not like being a doomsdayer. I'm telling you, they've accused OpenTofu of taking code out of their code base that is open to be looked at. Again, it's like they're daring people to take. Anyways, it's insane to me. It's like Bizarro Clown World that we're in or something. So IBM's gonna. I mean, HashiCorp was going their own route of doing that themselves, but can I tell you guys? Like, I got a Terraform cert back in 2020. No, I got it in 2021. I got my Terraform and my Vault certifications, and my problem with Terraform. Actually, I got my Vault in 2022, but my Terraform I got in 2021. My problem with it was when I started using Terraform, I had this thing in my head like I could just push a button and deploy anywhere. But no, you have a tool where you pull down a provider, and then the provider is set for whichever one cloud provider you want. It's not, people are like, oh, it's agnostic, it can go to anybody. Yeah, but I couldn't imagine in one deployment deploying to both like AWS and Azure at the same time. I couldn't imagine somebody doing that. Maybe they do, maybe, but I don't see that as a use case. And in that case, since that's not the thing, why wouldn't you, if you were doing AWS, just focus on cloud formation? And this is one of the things me and Fisherman have talked about as a couple of solutions architect pros, you know, like, well, maybe Maybe you should be good at the tool that's for the cloud that you're in, and not try to be like spread real thin across this tool that does a lot of things okay. And Terraform does things perfectly fine as long as you got a provider that's supported, which is going to be a problem more in the future anyways. I'm not here to infotain people. I'm here to tell you guys about the certs that are out there. Terraform and Vault both have really, really good abilities for you to go study them. I really think these are good. Come here. Here's the study guide for Terraform. Let me move this real quick. I don't want it to cover my closed captioning, so let me just go like this here. You can go to exam review and come down, and they will give you, guys, there are 9 things for Terraform, right? Like 9 things you need to be ready for. Here they all are. And there's the documentation for them, and there's the tutorial for them, and things that you need to know about them. There's a whole bunch of stuff right here for the review. So you don't have to go in there not knowing all of the pieces that they want you to know for the test. You can be completely ready for it. And I think that's pretty good for free, right? Do you understand how to manage Terraform versions? They're going to tell you right here. Here's your versions of whatever providers, AWS and random. Required version has to be greater than something of whatever this is. And then they show you how it runs when you run your init, right? Update rollback complete. And then you can have delete all resources or not delete resource. Yeah, it's fun. Terraform init, Terraform apply. They give you all that stuff, right? Super good to know. Vault is still one of my favorite tools I've ever played with. Vault is secure. It works really well. I've just hammered at it and it still works just fine. I know, I went to a Kubernetes conference, like a little like Kubernetes meetup here in Phoenix. I think we had a few hundred people here or something. And the guy from ASU came out and he ran Vault and he was doing 180,000 calls a day against it with all of his students logging in and stuff at ASU, and it was running fine. They weren't even paying Vault. They just had an open source version of it. They're probably paying them now, but there's that kind of stuff. So Vault tutorials are the same thing as the Terraform ones. I also do have labs on both Terraform and Vault down in Killer Coda. So if you go play with my labs, they're free. You just go in and use them. Then there's this one. I told you guys here, this one was free a few years back, but the free one's discontinued. But I still want to show you this because chaos engineering is it's a high level concept, but you do a lot of basics to get there. So I think it's still valuable. I think some people are going to go, I just want to do that. I'm just going to do chaos engineering. And I'm going to say, you probably have to learn some of it. It's like security. Everybody wants to jump right into security, but you're going to be much better at security if you understand the foundations of how the things are built. But here's the chaos engineering stuff with Gremlin. I will link this to you, but they've got an open, just a bunch of information and background here, right? And again, I don't know why it keeps, even though I leave these open, why it's not using these as the most recent. But I'm going to link this to you guys here for people that want the Gremlin stuff. Again, the cert for Gremlin isn't free anymore like it used to be. They used to have an entry-level one that was free. But this other thing, let me show you guys this other one. This is one of my favorite things. It's somebody's GitHub. Again, I don't know why. There we go. I don't know why it keeps doing that. But this guy has this awesome chaos engineering GitHub. And this is probably like the best place for you to go spend time if you want to read the history of it. If you've ever heard of like Chaos Monkey and Chaos Gorilla and you want to read more about it, they have all of this stuff in here. And they're just links to other stuff and things that people have said, the culture, the books on it. There's a bunch of books that are out there that are free and open source for you to use. There's a bunch of education and YouTube videos on this stuff if this is what you want to do. But at the end of the day, what chaos engineering is it is creating hypothetical situations around things that you've built and then causing them to occur. Kind of like a cat with a little water glass at the edge of a table, and he's like, I wonder what happens if I just push that thing off. This is what we do. But does my system keep churning along? Does my system keep serving web pages? Does the load balancer handle? Does DNS start to not resolve? And all these things, right? Cats are little chaos engineers, right? They're just pushing shit off, right? So that's what this is, and this was excellent. When we did this, actually, M. Pesa, who's one of our kind of regulars, he was the one that told me about this, and he's like, Scott, go get this cert, and I was like, I didn't really do anything with certs back then. This was like one of my first ones that kind of kicked me off to go get a bunch of certs. I had my CISSP, Chaos Cat, yeah. Guys, there's so much stuff. I think you could probably sit around and read for weeks on this stuff. This is a lot of old stuff, but this really starts getting you ready for SRE stuff, site reliability engineering, if you want to get into that discipline of engineering. Remember, I told you guys, we have to do the basic things well, but then we move off into all these other areas that we find interesting, right? Link us to GitHub. Did you get it, Hector? You got the GitHub? Okay, good. Guys, I really think, and man, it was so good when I could just tell you, go take your Gremlin, and then you got a cool little badge for Gremlin Chaos Engineering, right? Guys, there's Slack. Again, I tell you all the time, if it's not our group, go find somebody that's doing something interesting to you. Security teams, chaos engineering teams, whatever. You're probably going to work at bigger companies because smaller companies aren't going to have the budgets to just kick stuff over. But can I give a nod to AWS real quick? AWS Chaos Engineering. They call it the Fault Injection Simulator, FIS. So Chaos Engineering in AWS is a thing called the Fault Injection Simulator. They can inject faults into things and break stuff for you if you want to go that route. And if that's interesting to you, down in our Discord, if you go ask in, like, I think we've got like a cloud section, ask about some of this stuff and ask some of our guys what they've done and some of our solutions. Just ask in there generally, and we've got solutions architects that'll tell you what they've done with their customers. Most of them are around AWS side of things because I focused a lot on AWS, but we do have some not Amazon, Azure. We have some Azure guys. There you go. Okay. So Gremlin, everybody loves Gremlin, right? Everybody likes that. Data science with Kaggle. If you don't like Kaggle, one, I don't know why you wouldn't like Kaggle, but if you've never heard of Kaggle, go there. There's all kinds of cool little AI projects. They will drop you in your own little Jupyter Python notebook and allow you to just run stuff and practice your machine learning stuff out there. And you can do it in multiple languages. Jupyter is a Python one. You can, but the main thing I show people this for, especially like my college students, get a Kaggle account because one, it's federated with Google, so you can just say I'm with Google and they'll let you in. And two, data sets. If you want curated data sets, you want so they have an ordering thing on here where they will say that a data set is like a level 1 through 10 curated, like how easy is it to use. And if you've got like a level 10 curated data set, it's got all the data is labeled. It's got very little null or empty values that you've got to deal with. If any of you have ever cleaned data before, so I get this Excel doc, right? And it's got a bunch of things in it that are letters instead of numbers, or a bunch of things that are empty. I've got to do something with that data, especially if I'm trying to figure out like statistical means and these very basic like data cleaning things. So maybe I choose, well, I'll just take the mean of all of the data and put that in for those values. Well, you tend to shape your data in a more standard deviation way when you do that, as opposed to like a polynomial distribution or some of these other types of distributions we can have. So the more clean my data is and the less holes there are on their data, the less of that stuff that I'm going to do where I'm affecting the data. Because, I mean, our options are to clean data or to drop data, right? Like, and maybe we don't want to drop data for some reason. Maybe we just want to. It's almost like you just fudge it a little bit, right? You're like, I'll just slide. This number's a 70 and that number's a 75, and most of them are in the 70s. So I'll just kind of rub it, and it'll be a 72.5 in there. That's kind of what some of these things are that we do. But Kaggle's great. They have competitions people get paid for. They are a great thing. I've seen them on people's resumes over the years, like when people come in for technical. People use Kaggle, right? And again, these are free training, but there's not like a certification, or it's not free if there was. And these are all these things can cost you money. Data. This one doesn't cost you any money, but there's no cert for it. General Web Server. This has been around. Man, I remember W3 schools when I started. They were the best place to go just look at. Where can I go get ACAS that doesn't suck? Bass guy, I might have to ask you what an ACAS is. I'm not sure what that acronym means. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm an amateur data scientist. I tell you guys this all the time. I'm a systems engineer, right? Like I build systems, and I run systems and I build high performance compute stuff, and I make it all the same. But I love to play with data and download data and do all this stuff with it. But I do that as an amateur. By the way, guys, I've told you this. Amateur doesn't mean you're not as good as a professional. It just means you don't get paid for something. In America, we tend to use amateur like they're an amateur sports team. They're not the pros. But that's not really what the term means. An amateur can be very good. In fact, when I talk about, I got them on some of the later slides when I talk about the government stuff. The government found out that people having access to data do better stuff with it than people they pay for it. I don't know if you guys knew that. That's 100% true. The U.S. government found out years ago, if I just go put this data out there where like the average Joe anybody can just type some commands and pull it down and play with it, they get better results from that than they do from paying research scientists. If you don't believe me, well, I'll show you some stuff here in a little bit. But I've worked with NOAA Weather for the last 4 years. NOAA is the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Agency. And I'm going to show you guys some of the really good stuff that they have to get in there. Did you guys know that you could play with weather data right now if you wanted to? You go download all the weather data you want. You won't get all the data that NOAA has. They ingest from over 2 million sensors a day. But there's all kinds of stuff out there. Sean Alvarado, I build a fair amount of scripts in Bash, yeah. Yep. I would say nowadays I spend a lot more time in Ansible than I do in Bash. But yeah, I do a lot in Bash, yeah. W3 schools. This is where I learned HTML. This is where I learned how to write a connection back from back in the day with like Perl. And this is how long ago, because LampStack used to be Perl on the end, or PHP or Python. People have called it all these different things. That's where I learned how to make a connection string back to MySQL. I learned how to do MySQL, SQLite commands in here, right? So this is still one of the best places, I think, to go in there and get the basics, right? If you're just like, hey, Scott, I don't have anything, go spend some time there. They have really good tutorials on there. And they let you execute it right in their shell, like right on their page. Assured Compliance Assessment Solution. Software set of information security tools used for the vulnerability scanning and risk assessment by agencies of DoD. Base Guy. Assured Compliance Assessment Solution. I haven't ever used one of those or seen that. And then David, yeah, this video is going to stay up. I don't delete my VODs. I just leave them up forever. Although they do delete after 60 days over on the Twitch side of things. So, but Base Guy, no, I don't know where to get that. But I have been using OpenSCAP and the SCAP Workbench lately, and there's some pretty good stuff in there. So if you guys have ever used OpenSCAP for security compliance, it can generate Ansible code for you now. So then you can take that Ansible code and build your baseline script. In fact, I'm going to be building a lab off that here soon in our Killer Coda, so you can baseline a Linux box to do the things you want it to do. Other things that I think are just good to get hands-on, tldp.org, that's the Linux documentation project. And I get told sometimes, I've shown this to people, and they're like, oh man, that thing's like 20 years old. That's kind of old. I'm like, has Bash changed that much? Not really. The file test operators are all still the same. Some of them have been deprecated, and they noted in there. But this is still where I go to reference special use cases in Bash where I'm trying to do things that I don't know how to do, which is a lot. I can go in tldp.org and just find a quick example a lot of times. I thought I'd give a nod to a really fun one. I've always liked the portswigger.net. There's a whole bunch of other ones that I thought to put in here, but this one, the reason I mentioned this one is there's a lot of stuff. There's like Falco, which is like a security tool for Ansible or for Kubernetes. There's like Aquas. There's all these training things, but they don't really have a cert with them. Portswigger, which is if you've ever used Burp Suite, does have certifications. So if you come here to the Portswigger Academy and pull up the Portswigger Academy, they have all this free training. It's free. All you gotta do is sign up for it. But the certification costs something. You do everything in their lab free. But if you look, they have all these attacks and API, all this stuff that you can practice. But if you go to take their test, I think if you sit their test, it's like $300 or $400. That's a little bit of a cost for some people. So there's all these things here. Oh, OpenSCAP is so good, base guy, and look for it here in the next couple weeks, where I'll be putting it up in our Discord, and then it'll also be up on Killer Coda, where you can get your hands on it if you haven't played with it before. But OpenSCAP is awesome for baselining stuff. All right, so build yourself a home lab. I'm a big fan of having a home lab of some type. The stuff that I've built is going to be less than about, I need to update this, less than about $600, the stuff that I'm going to show you. But that's over the course of years. I've had this stuff in my home lab for years. I've got a little half rack that sits behind me. You can't see it anymore because I've got my green screen up. But it has these 3 nodes over here on the left. They are 128 gigs, and 32 gigs. They are using about this much of their memory right now. And so they're pretty much chilling as far as what they've allocated to the different devices in my network. This one here is the one that runs all of our internal lab stuff. So I have a ProLug lab that you guys can get access to if you're down in our Discord. The way that that lab works is you get access to it, and then if I pull my Discord up, every morning the sandbox tells us a status of that lab. There's 10 nodes in there. Only one person's logged into it. It's this one inmate. That's what I called the user. But we've got a total of 10 systems. If you go log in and somebody's in blue node 1, it won't show up. You can go into any of the other nodes. And these nodes are for you to go in and practice Linux type stuff. I have labs planned for in there that we're going to do, and then I'll blow the machines away and I redeploy these with Ansible. I've shown you guys that before in previous streams. And then this is just my checker that writes out to Discord every morning. It's all automated, all this stuff. Okay. All right, most of you guys have been around for that. But that's my labs. But then I also have my home lab stuff where I can track stuff. I can check on, let's see, hold on. API Academy. I should be able to check on Ranger Cam. Like, how's Ranger doing? Ranger Cam's pointing at the wall. I got to go fix Ranger Cam. But I can also check other stuff in my home environment. 218, right? I think 218 is my... Where's 218? Yeah, so this is all my other lab stuff, right? This is my home lab monitoring of, like, my servers need to be patched and updated. I got all kinds of stuff I need to work on, but I got kind of high memory usage in my boxes, which kind of makes sense because that's when I run my Clam antivirus scanner every night, right? And I keep track of this stuff. I keep track of people trying to log into my system, right? We always have people trying to do ratchet shit on the internet. It's never going to swear for me. That thing will never swear for me. This is in the last 6 hours. Everybody that's tried to log into my system and gotten themselves locked out forever right here. Some of you guys have been around. I have labs that show you how to build this stuff. This is a Promtail to Loki to... this is Promtail to Loki to Grafana as a pipeline, right? Somebody literally just tried to log in right now. Twice, in fact, for DB2 Instance 1 and admin. Those are the two. On the other side of the house, they have evaluate stigs now. Yeah. I don't work directly for any government projects that pay for that, but I do have a project I just started on where we're doing OpenSCAP and hitting all the stigs. And then the stig stuff, the stig stompers that exist, they've always been better on the Windows side than the Linux side. I've always had to write the stuff down myself. Hey, we got a Ranger check. By the way, I got to go fix Ranger Cam for us to do a Ranger check because it's pointing at the wall, obviously. So I'll tell you guys what we're going to do. We'll take a break real quick. I'll go fix Ranger Cam. So let me pull up my little hourglass here. Hourglass is going to say, take break. Check on Ranger. And then we'll come back. All right, I'll give myself 8 minutes. So there we go. Feel free to hang out, talk shop. Tomato's in charge until I get back on the Twitch side. On the YouTube side, I have no idea who's in charge. I'm just going to say, Base Guy, you're in charge until I get back. We'll go fix Ranger Cam. Ranger cam looks better. You also tell we had a party over here. All right, I'll be back. Keep taking your break. Why does Ranger look like, he looks like he's being very wistful. Maybe even sad almost. Charge of snacks, yeah. God, man, Ranger would sit there and look like he's never been fed if I let him. He's definitely been fed, guys, I assure you. He's doing all right. All right, keep taking your break if you want it. I'm drinking some water. But there's your Ranger check for people who have, oh, look at him. He's a pretty comfy old 12-and-a-half-year-old dog, you know. He's kind of old. But also looks like the wife left some stuff up on the table, so that's always fun. But the point of this was to show you, this is downstairs. The point of this was to show you that, you know, we've got monitoring of systems. We need to be able to take the data and see what the data are trying to show us. We've got this one, which gives us some info about systems. We've got, actually, we can go see what commands were done in that lab when people were in there. I need to refresh this, and then I need to go look at, why is this app? Hold on. Let's go back to, it's last 6 hours, but somebody was in the last 24 hours. And when they were in there, what were they doing? Hold on. So we're going to refresh this. Maybe our thing's not working. So what happens is I can track everything that happens inside of those little dungeon nodes just to keep track of, make sure nobody's doing nothing too ratchet in there. We can see, though, when somebody was in there, there was one user in the different lab setup systems. But for some reason... Oh, you know what? Hold on. Sometimes you just got to put it in. I think it's called dungeon. We can go check it. Hold on. While we're kind of hanging out. All right. Red one. We see people in there now. Yeah, it is dungeon. Yeah. So if somebody's in there, we can actually see what they're doing here, right? Somebody's in that box. That's actually me, right? That's me actually going and looking at that server and seeing what that server is doing. That's kind of funny. Yeah, so then we see one user's in there, but I just happen to be the root user. But it shows me everything I did. I catted out, prom tail, and then this is the values that were in there. So anyways, the point is we can keep track of what's going on down in there for the most part. But all that to say, we went kind of far afield to say that you can build yourself a home lab. Build yourself a lab. I'm going to give this another minute for people to show back up, just because if anybody took a break and was like, oh, shoot, he went off without me. Yeah. Baba, my dog's pretty old in dog years, yeah. And then Gary asked, is there a presentation link for this? This presentation will be up in the Discord. I'll link it up there here in a little bit when this is done, because I'm still fixing it as we go right now. There's a lot of free stuff you can do in AWS free tier or in Azure. pfSense is a perfectly fine VPN concentrator. That's what I normally use it for, or some people use it as a firewall. But pfSense is perfectly fine. Yeah. I don't know if they're doing anything else, but I mean, everything I've used it for has worked just fine. Also, let me link the Discord on the YouTube side because it got linked on Twitch, but I want it to be there for you guys over on the YouTube side as well. So if anybody's on YouTube and is like, hey, I want to join their Discord, there you go. It's free. You can hang out down there. I'm trying to just collect memes and stuff like that from people. Hyper, I didn't think the CISSP was super hard, but let me give that with a caveat. I took the CISSP on the old version, and you used to just have to sit through all the questions. There was like hundreds of questions. I think it was like 300 or 400 or something. Nowadays, I've taken the CCSP in the new version, and their new version tends to be, so my CCSP was, I think it was a very fair test. I think I knew a lot of what was going to be on it. And then the questions I thought were very straightforward. So I can't talk to the CISSP now because I passed it on the older form, but it's just it's what we call 5 miles wide and 2 miles deep, or 5 miles wide and 2 inches deep. It is a very survey oriented, back to what we were talking about earlier with like Bloom's taxonomy. The things that you really need to know are like understanding and remembering. You need to know a lot of domains, but you don't need to go real deep in any of them. They don't make you program a firewall. There's none of that stuff. In that sense, CISSP is actually pretty straightforward, pretty easy in that way of thinking of it. So again, home lab. Let's talk about some other stuff. If you just wanted to build a home lab out in the cloud, so you're like, Scott, how is the home lab in the cloud going to work? Well, we'll just say we burst it up there. So we go over here, we go to AWS for like our console login. We do our login of whoever our user is, which in my case is something like this, right? And then I need to know my password. I think it's something like that. And it'll drop us in here, right? And then in here, I have a tremendous amount of free things. If you've never seen the AWS free tier, here's the free tier stuff that doesn't cost us anything. And there's the 1 year free. There's the always free stuff. I don't have the permissions. I'd have to be the root user to go see the free tier stuff. But we could just come out here and not be logged in and say free tier AWS, right? And it would give us just the normal free tier stuff, and it would tell us what's free tier. There's some things that are free trials, 12 months free and always free. And then I can come down here and I can say, I want to know what the always free things are. DynamoDB, you can just run that. Lambda, always free. SNS, which is a message push service, right? CloudWatch, pretty fair amount of things that are free, right? The somewhat free, the first 12 months free that a lot of people like is this Amazon EC2. Well, there's only 730 hours in a month. If you take 31 times 24, you'll only get 700 something, right? And the 750 hours is more than enough to run one instance on the smallest type all the time. So you can do a lot of free stuff in there. Your always free stuff is stuff like, if I come back over here into my account, I can build VPCs. So my VPC environment, excuse me. Let's go look at one of my VPCs that I have in my environment. Here's a project VPC that I built. And this is everything. This virtual private cloud with no resources deployed to it that has a 10.100/16. So 10.100 and all of the numbers in here I can use. I can break them down and use variable length subnet masking on them for people that like that kind of stuff. I can come down here and see this is a 10.100.0.0/20. So this project subnet public, which goes out to an internet gateway, that's how we know it's defined as a public. There's that. It all costs money. That's the next part of the presentation. Once you have a lab what do? You do things that are professional related, and you do things that are personally just interesting to you. Those are the two things we do. Okay, so I'm here. Look, a /20. When you had a /16, but now you have a /20, those 4 bits in between there are now subnet bits. So real quick, you can count all the states of nature of those 4 bits, which makes 16 total subnets. So I have 16 subnets available in this address space with a /20 without getting variable length subnet masking involved, just in a fixed length subnet masking. And that is all of these different subnets here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9 of them total here, but I have 7 more that I can use in that space without going into variable length subnet masking and go further down to maybe I want some of them smaller. Those /20s are pretty big, because then you take what's left over, which is 12 more bits, and you take those 12 bits and you go to the power of 12. To the power of 12 minus 2, and we get 4094. So each of those subnets there can have 4094 hosts in them. Well, actually, it's minus 5 in AWS space, so it's 4091. But I mean, you're splitting hairs at that point. You're probably not getting that close to those, right? If you do use up all your hours, they will charge you. That's true. One of the things I used to do back in the day when I first was streaming a couple of years back, I used to deploy 10 nodes at a time with Terraform. We would use them all, and then I would tear them down. And then I would build 10 more, and I would only do it on Sundays. So I would use like 60 hours. So I had it automated. It would run for 6 hours, and then it would tear them down. So we would have during my stream, and then for the rest of Sunday, we would have everything up, and then we would take it all. But you get resource blocked with anything you've tried to do by being in the Western region. I build everything in US West too. I build all my stuff out here. Specifically variable subnets. If subnets are different, why couldn't I use the same IP? You can't. It all costs money. It doesn't work hierarchically anymore. Everything flows up in a hierarchy. So you can't use the same subnet unless it's an internal subnet, and then you have a different protocol between your devices, and you assume that's a different autonomous system. That's the only way you can do that. Can't do it within one autonomous system. It doesn't work. Your devices won't know how to route it. All right. So they have this. They have route tables. You can connect route tables. You can build your own, or you can let them build them automatically. You can tag them. You can have up to 50 tags on a resource. Yeah, well, it all costs money. It's the idea that you can do whatever you want in this space, but it's all your internal space, and that space can't ever go out to the world. You definitely can't use the same IP. Okay, so look at all this stuff, and most all this stuff is free. You could build X amount. I think you can only have 5 VPCs in any one region, but you can have them. You can tag them. A name does take up a tagging slot, but then you can tag them with a bunch of other stuff. I can see if any other tags. I have streaming, home, and project VPC as the tags of this resource, and then those tags can be inherited down to the things we build in there, right? Now, I'm not building anything in here, but I can come over here to EC2 instances. So EC2 instances, and in here, I have no instances running. I'm in my Oregon US West 2. Some of your things that you do inside of the cloud are going to be region-based. So these are all tied to regions. But some things are going to be, like if you go to Identity and Access Management, so if I go to IAM real quick, you'll see that it doesn't have a region involved with it. Watch. Everything's going to go gray here when I go to IAM. Because it's a global service. It doesn't matter what region I'm in. It's all global. All right, so let's go back where we were. Go to my EC2 instances. Let's go look at my instances. I don't have any instances right now, but maybe I want to deploy one, right? And I can see how much it costs to deploy an instance too when I go to build one. I'm just going to say stream. Let's call it 31. What is it? 31 May 2024. I don't know. Maybe they'll let me do that. I can add additional tags. I can say, okay, so there was name. I can add a new tag and say stream. So stream is my key, and then my value is maybe true. Like I was streaming when I did it, right? And then resource types, no, I'm not going to tag any of that stuff. And then that's good. That's good number of tags for me then. Come down here. I can pick one of their AMIs, but I bake my own AMIs. I haven't baked one in a while, but I can come down here, and I had these Amazon Linux 2 ones that I used to pull down, and I would build them with Docker or Packer. Packer is another HashiCorp tool, and I would build them up. So I had a 22. Most recent one was 2208.26. So sometime in August of a couple years ago, I built this one. It's owned by me. I'm the only one who's ever going to be able to deploy this. Cost center is an accounting thing, yeah. Instance type, I'm just going to use the free tier eligible, but I can look at all generations and I could do something bigger if I needed to. And they give me what the values of these things are. On-demand Linux, which is what I'm running, is going to be about a penny an hour. My on-demand Linux-based pricing is about a penny an hour. So over the course of the month would cost me about $7.50. Probably a little more. Maybe like $8 or something like that. Additional cost to AMIs for any pre-installed software. I'm not doing any of that. I baked this thing myself. All my stuff that's built into that from a security standpoint is already pre-baked. There's 2 ways you can apply things, by the way. This is a systems engineering thing. We can pre-bake stuff beforehand, and then we can customize and lay customization on the top after. And it depends on how you want to do things. Pre-baked things are harder to change, but the versions are baked in. Stuff that's customized can be more, like it's a web server, it's a database server. We can change all these other things later, but it takes more time to deploy. Basically, I said IPv4 not being free anymore. How can you get around that or keep it low? What packages do you use in baking? I use a tool called Packer. Packer is an open source tool from it's not open source anymore. Packer from HashiCorp. I mean, it's all business source licensing now, right? But Packer it's just such a good tool. You can use it you can actually use it on Docker images. Download Docker image, build everything up, and then send it. So it's like a pipeliner. It builds things at the start of your pipeline. There's a way around using this, though. If you're like, I don't want nothing to do with Packer. Here it is. Here's the link, packer.io. If you say, if you have certain accounts, you add to all of your build. Yeah, I actually do. It depends. Base guy, we could have keys baked right into our servers that people can log into, or certificates if we want, because a lot of times we want to be out of like password-based things. But when I used to deploy it to everybody, I would just generate a password each time, and then that password would get written into our Discord, and anybody could use the servers for like 6 hours, and then we would just tear them down. That's how we used to do it. But let me show you this. I'm going to build this up. Key pair name. You have to have a key pair. So I have a stream test one that I think I made a while back. And then I can just spin this node up. I can create a security group, or I can select an existing security group. And the security groups I have are all the ones that are in there. But I'll go ahead and take this default one. And then I could go look at it too and see if it's going to work for me or not. Compare security group rules. I can go look at that one, right? And I need SSH to be allowed in from anywhere. So yeah, good. Because I'm going to just connect in. How is Packer different from Ansible if it isn't a diversion? Packer is just, you could use Ansible to do a lot of the same stuff as Packer. You could also use Packer to kick off Ansible. I don't know. I like Packer because I can just take an image of a system, build it the way I want, put things into it, and then keep it going down the line. You could do a lot of that same stuff with Ansible, I guess, yeah. Yeah, you can do a CH root and then build in there and then package something back up. Yeah, look, there's a lot of ways to do a lot of this stuff. Packer was just an easy one that I had started with, so it works. Guys, there's a lot, man. Like, some people never want to hand anything off to Jenkins. Some people just love letting Jenkins run wild and do everything, right? Because Jenkins can do your whole pipeline from start to finish. You can have Jenkins literally do every single piece and kick off everything. There's triggers, and if not, there's custom triggers, right? But I don't know Jenkins very well. I've just watched it be used pretty well. I had hundreds of instances of Jenkins running by when I worked at AAA, one of our senior guys over on the site reliability engineering. He built all this stuff. Me, I was just the platform guy building all the platforms, making sure that stuff all worked good. So, all right, so here, let's keep going. I'll go 8 gig storage. I don't need nothing special. Let's kick this instance off, right? Tinkering with some stuff and looking at Ansible and Cloud in it. Read a little on Packer too. Nice. So this instance is going to stand up, right? There's a launch log. I could have set a bunch of what's called user data, and I could have configured this box more as it came up, but I'm not going to worry about any of that. I'm just going to go click on this machine. I'm going to see a bunch of information about it. As it comes up more and more, it's going to get a public DNS here, right? And I'm going to go to my Windows machine here, my actual Windows box on this machine, and I'm going to CD into downloads. That's where I do most of my stuff. And then I think in here, if I dir for stream, there's stream test.pem right there. So that's the key that I need to connect to this box, right? So I say ssh-i stream test.pem, and then the box. And it's EC2 user at that. Oops. That's the box I just stood up. Guys, there's nothing, there's literally not, I'm not even wearing sleeves. There's nothing up my sleeves. I'm not making any of this stuff up. We just built this box. And then it's going to say, permission denied. You couldn't get in. EC2 user at that streamtest.pem. Did I use the wrong? Oh, it might be this other one. That might be, oh, that's a really old one. Hold on. I made this other newer one the last time I was on. Well, maybe not. Let's see. Stream test. I think that's EC2 underscore. Oh, is EC2? Hold on. EC2 dash user. That's what it is. Let's go to this one. I think it's this one, EC2 dash user. Boom. There we are. Uptime. Who am I? Sudo dash I. I'm root on the box. It's one of those root the box things, right? No. I'm on that box. I can say dpack. I can do stuff like this. I can cat etc cat var log apt. The apt.log. Thought it was apt, but apparently they don't have apt on here. Oh, it's my fault. This is an Amazon box, so it's just under yumlog. So more yumlog. And these are all the updates. So I did in June of that year when I built this. Those were all my updates. Those are the most recent packages I have. Those are not the most recent packages. Let's do a yum-y update, and let's time that. Let's see how long it takes to do a full patch on this right now. Full patch of the system. Also, I can't tab apparently because it's just going to do Windows systems beeps at me. Tomato said Jenkins is good until you update plugins Friday at 6 p.m. Yeah, I like that, Tomato. Yeah. So you have like this requirement. By the way, if you're going to do like Solutions Architect Associate, you do need to know like what are all the requirements to be able to build out. This is a brand new server, guys. We literally just built this while we were talking. While I leave this on, it's going to cost me a penny because I'm outside of my $7.50 free tier. Took 32 seconds. It did all of those updates. I can do yum history, right? And I can see the history of ever since this box came up, when it was patched. I can roll back to other versions. I can see, is there something stopped? Like, what's the uname-r? What version of the kernel am I on? I'm on 4.14. Is there a new version of the kernel? Am I locked on the version of the kernel? Let's just cat etc yum.conf. And I don't have anything stopping me from doing the kernel level stuff. So I might say, again, uname-r, and then I might say grubby. And then default kernel. And if you look at that, look at that real quick. If you've never done anything with systems right now, right? And I told you that uname-r shows you the version of the kernel we're on. And then I said grubby is a tool that shows you what version your system wants to go to. Then let's do a little thought exercise here. Did the update I just do install a new kernel to this box? And is my server ready to go to a new box server interchangeable, right? Is this server ready to go to a new version of the kernel if I reboot it? So update versus upgrade. Oh, yeah, you say update in Yum. Yeah. SK, that is ready to move to a new version. See how it's on 290 here and it wants to go to 344? So it will go to a new version if I reboot this. So let's reboot it. 3 reboots. Why? For fun. Let's ping it. Pings should go through, but we'll wait. We can see the box over here. Now, real quick, some of you might say, well, Scott, hold on a second. Didn't you just delete it, and wouldn't that delete the box? I've seen EC2 instances that lose all their data. Well, it actually depends on its volumes. If its volume is, the volume that we're using is a type GP2, and it is assigned as a actual EBS volume, then this server is persistent through reboot. The server will stay. It is a like a stateful, like a fat server version, if you want to think of it like that. However, if it was instance data store, when I just did that restart, it would have came back up with the original instance store, and we would have lost all the data. It would have been stateless. I couldn't patch it. I could patch it on that instance, but then when it goes down and comes back up, it's like a trap door. It's clean again. Yep. So we're going to give it a second here. We're going to go back in. Box is probably back up. Let's see. Is it responding yet? Is it back up? Let's see. Apparently I didn't hit enter hard enough there. Now it's sitting there. So it's probably not up yet. The server's probably not all the way up. So this is what upgrade. Yeah. That's what happens, SK, is you install a new kernel and then you move to the new kernel on reboot. Yes. SK, that's what we do most of the time. It's not up yet. Give it another second. Cypher, when you're in your first year of using AWS, you can run one EC2 instance for the entire year for free, yes. If you didn't know that, yes. Yep. After it would cost you about $8 a day. Hold on, let's go look at this box. Make sure I didn't break it in some way. It's back to running. It's passed all its checks. Ah, hold on. Did it get a new 3587.102? So it's possible. Hold on. It came back up. This is a problem, guys. It came up with a new IP address, which is fair. That's my fault because I did not assign an elastic IP to it. So it does have a new... No, that's the same one. Okay. That just took a while to come back up. So, hold on. uname-r. It's on the new version of the kernel. It's 344. The old version of the kernel was 290, right? We're on the new version of the kernel. And then if I do my grubby again, grubby, -- default kernel, it's on the, oh, hold on. Got to become root. Now there we go. So it's on the kernel version that it wants to. There's no reason to reboot here. Didn't realize you could run an EC2 instance free. Yeah, absolutely. We can leave this. I could leave this up and it would cost me like $8 a month. But there's also a tremendous amount of things. Guys, by the way, this talk is about being an engineer and doing the kind of things that are interesting to you. I just got off into the cloud because it was something we were talking about. If you want to do, if you said, hey, Scott, so back to real quick. I'm gonna go to this machine here. I'm gonna go to this instance. I'm gonna click here, and I'm gonna terminate it. Right here, actions. I'm just gonna terminate instance state. Terminate instance, so I can delete this instance, and it'll be gone forever. Won't cost me anything. What kind of sort it can break while doing this upgrade? When you upgrade something like that, it's very possible that grub gets busted. So then you got to go back and roll back to an old version of your grub menu list and get that right, or write that yourself for the new entry. Those things can break. If everything doesn't get installed with the kernel, and kernel headers are busted, there's things that want to use the kernel headers and the kernel devel packages to be able to build themselves. So like OFED drivers and things that are specific to types of hardware. GPFS and Lustre, these are big high-speed storage systems. They need your kernel to have the right versions of. So if things were off versions, you'd have problems. Or if you said, I'll just update a new kernel, but I won't install these other two things because they cost 64 kilobytes, so I won't do them. fucking, there's all kinds of reasons people do dumb shit. But the point is, there are things that can break. Yeah, Suresh or SK. There's things that can definitely break. Yeah. Oh, I already deleted it, but I was going to show that. Can I show you guys one other thing real quick? So some of you say, Scott, that's real cool, but I'm not a server guy. Scott, I don't want to do servers. And I say, fair enough. I told you guys earlier, you don't have to be like me. You don't want to, maybe you don't want to be like, I was thinking about this earlier. Has anybody here ever watched the show Star Trek? I watched Star Trek a little bit. I grew up with it, right? It was around long before my dad was a kid when Star Trek was on, right? Where I'm going with that, though, is, did you ever see Scotty up on the bridge? Everybody knows Scotty was the engineer, right? He never got to go up in there, did he? He was always down in the engine room doing stuff. We're a lot of the ways the same way. If you're a server guy like me, they call me up when there's problems, but I'm down crawling around on the servers, right? Not all of you want to do that. Some of you guys hop in here and you're like, hey, this is science technology stream over on the Twitch side, but, I want to ask software and gaming questions. I say, okay, fair enough. If you wanted to get into AWS for really cheap, really cheap, but you're a developer, there's a path for you. Let me show you this. So this is build yourself a home lab. We were doing that stuff up in the AWS free tier and we weren't costing ourselves any money. Let me show you guys something else. This is when I did my AWS developer, because I have a developer associate as well. This is one of the best, hands down best things that was ever shown to me. It's called Serverless Land. So I'm going to link this to you guys here. This is, if you're just like, hey, Scott, I don't want to do none of that funny business. I want to build an API out there. I want to hit it. I want to go pull some data from a database and have it come back and prove that I can do that. Build little projects out, go get myself a nice little cushy developer cloud engineering role. Okay. Serverless Land. Shows you all these patterns. Look at this. This is one of my favorite things. You say learn. Here's a bunch of information and guides and videos and stuff. PyGamer, AWS charges you, but this is all serverless stuff, so you would have to use literally millions of processing seconds for this to charge you. Most of this stuff. You would have to do so much. They do ask for a debit card. Yep, that's true for AWS. That's true. Let me show you guys the snippets thing. This is one of my favorite things right here. You drop in the snippets, and you say, okay, I do everything in, what's my tools? I do everything in Python. Show me all the Python stuff. Here's all the Python stuff. And you say, okay, I don't want to do Python. I do everything. My framework that I use up here is, these are snippets. Let's go find, hold on, example code, workflows. Or is it one of these? Yeah, I want to use a Terraform workflow to build these. Terraform's good, right? Boom. Come down here. How do I generate a batch job? I can clone this down. I can do a Terraform init to download all my providers. Terraform apply to run it. But this is what it's going to build. And where's our code at? We should be able to grab, well, we can just download the code. Or here's a GitHub for his actual workflow. This is what the code looks like in there, right? So you're like, hey, Scott, I want to read a little bit about it and understand it. Generate batch job input and submit a batch job. This right here could be supplanting, like if you wanted to send jobs into like a cluster of high performance compute, you could do that. Here's some testing, and then you destroy it when you're all done. But my point is, Serverless Land is one of the best things I ever learned when I got into doing this. Hey, Morrison NM, hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Thanks for the follow over on the Twitch side. So, right, let's make sure, let's refresh this real quick. Let's make sure that instance is gone, right? Because, again, that would cost me. So it's down in the terminated state, so I'm good on that. I can get rid of this. We can get rid of all this. We don't need any of this stuff. Dungeons are doing fine. Nobody's down in there. Yep. But people are able to go down in the dungeons if they want. Those are available. So that's build yourself a home lab. Then I had a question earlier that said, once you build the home lab, what do you do with it? When you build any of those things out, what do you go do with it? Well, you have personal projects. This is stuff that interests me that's not directly related to my job. For example, I like to do digital stuff. I grew up in the networking side of things. I did all the ham radio stuff. I did digital to analog conversions inside of modems, and I built all the little pieces of that. I'm not an electrical engineer because I'm colorblind, and I had way too much trouble with those little capacitor things, but this stuff is like interesting, right? It's things that are interesting to you. I like to play with digital signals inside of systems, right? Currently a student trying to learn as much as possible and make it enjoyable. Well, good, Morrison. Well, hopefully this stuff, the goal of this is to show you guys how to do this stuff professionally. We have a whole little Discord down there where you guys can hang out and talk shop with other engineers and that kind of stuff as well. So we got, I'm not the only guy in the group. There's a lot of other people that do this stuff down in the Discord. In fact, I have a big event coming up August 3rd and 4th. Whatever that weekend is at the beginning of August, we're going to do it's just going to be like a Prolog Con. It's going to be down the Discord. It's going to be every 2 hours. We're going to have a new talk going. It's all going to be free. You're just going to hang out and do the talks. And then the people that stay around and do all the talking, or the people that come and do all the talks and grab all the little pieces of the hash, the people that turn in the most pieces of the key to me will get some kind of prize. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but there's that. Heard about network engineer that was colorblind. Yeah, base guy. I'm very colorblind. I can see some colors, but it's not good. I don't have to run Prolog or build labs, but that interests me, so I do it. So that's why we have 57 labs out there on Killer Coda that are free for you guys. I kind of found out why some goof ups were happening. Nice. Yeah. I guess if you couldn't see the green and the yellow on the front of the switches, that would probably give you a little bit of a problem. But for the most part, I can figure stuff out. Also, I can do the cable colors. They're not hard if I fan them all out and keep them wrapped up until I'm ready to split them. I can do all the cable colors. Was it brown, orange, green, and blue? Is that the 4? Yeah, I can do all those. All right, so personal projects. Then there's professional projects. These are things that interest you but are also kind of related to your job. I do a whole lot of stuff with Ansible. You guys have seen how I push Ansible out to my Discord. You guys have seen how I use Ansible to patch my stuff and to run jobs and deploy things, and there's all that kind of stuff. So there's that. I monitor everything at work. I'm big on building monitors out, and I've shown you guys here in the home lab, we've got the different stuff that's going on. We've got the logging. This is all the stuff. These are all the people trying to get into my system. We've had multiple of them since I started talking earlier. In fact, let's see, when did I start talking? I've been on for 2 hours right now. So about 4:44. So since right about here, yeah, this is all the people since my hand down here at the bottom. Those are all the people that have tried to log in, bots or whatever, have tried to hit port 22 on my box. There's been a significant amount trying to come in as root. 1, 2, 3 root, and then a whole bunch of invalid other bullshit users that don't exist in my environment, but are common regular users. It's one of the reasons the PCI requirement is to change or disable all default accounts. You either get rid of them, or you change the passwords on them, or you disable them completely, because too many people are trying to get in. What's one that's always here? ES is always here. www-data. It's a very common web one. It comes default, right? Admin, very common one. ES is a big one. Let's see if we see any ESs. Bunch of root attempts. Root can't even log in through my SSH, so those were all wasted. But we almost always have an ES. ES is your Elastic. Look, Tomcat, Peruba, whatever that is. Umbuntu. Umbuntu must be a very common shortened Ubuntu one that comes up. Umbuntu is not ever going to get in my system, but it's people trying to get into my stuff. I track weather data. I track security and connectivity data out to the world. I track Ranger Dog. How's Ranger doing? We haven't checked on Ranger in a little bit. Oops, not that. Let's pull up Ranger Cam. How's Ranger doing? Look at him. Look at that dog. That's Ranger Dog downstairs. Also, my house is a mess because we had people over. So it's just, had a bunch of tables out and stuff downstairs. This is kind of our little Ranger room there, and people hang out in there when he's around, so, or when they come around or whatever. But I like to monitor stuff, right? I like to make sure that things are working, and I do the same thing in the systems world, right? And I show you guys how to do all those in some of our labs as well. All right, book collection. I think you should keep a collection of books for reading and reference. I think that there's a lot of ways for people that want to go collect books online. I'm not going to tell you where to go do that. However, Reddit's a good place to start if you were looking, right? Reddit will tell you where to go. But, base guy, we definitely disable root on the config for sure. He goes in ours and hogs up my side. I don't think my dog even knows how to climb steps. Ranger's never come upstairs. He's always lived downstairs the entire time. We've been in this house almost 4 years. And he just lives downstairs. He doesn't come upstairs. So He wouldn't even know. I don't even know if he'd know where my bed is. He'd probably be able to find it eventually. But all right, so the internet's great for referencing things, guys. Stack Overflow keeps the internet running. There's nobody that questions that. Googling around and DuckDuckGoing and Internet Safariing to learn things is the life of an engineer, right? I tell you guys all the time, if you watched me throughout the day, you'd probably be like, this guy's insane. He has no idea what he's doing. But it slowly starts to come together as I'm looking for things and that kind of stuff. So the internet's great for that. But you get more rigor and correctness around a book that somebody's written. Somebody wants to teach you how to use Kafka, like Stefan Merrick has some really good books and courses on Kafka. And you want to learn about Kafka. Kafka's always ready to write. So we can send data into Kafka as a publisher, and we can pull data out in a pub sub model, and it's awesome. And we can replay events from 3 weeks ago and years ago if we have the right data set up. Morrison, the Prologue book is all Linux and Ansible labs, so I would tell you it's not really what I would do for cybersecurity. I wouldn't start there for cybersecurity for sure. Do we do some cybersecurity stuff in there in the lab? Sure. But no, the Prologue book, by the way, for anybody that is interested in getting it, it's all it does is supplement the labs that are out there. The labs are free on Killer Code. You guys can go do all the labs you want. But you can kind of journal and think through stuff more with the lab book. That's all. But I would not say, no, don't start with that for cybersecurity. That's not the focus of it. Are there some hardening and sudoing and some other stuff in the Linux world? Yeah, but it's not a focus on cybersecurity, Morrison, unfortunately. I may do, like I have some cybersecurity stuff I'm putting together that's going to be free for the group, because most all my stuff is just free for the group to use. But yeah, Morrison, don't start with that, especially if you're like a college student and you're kind of getting started. Don't go spend money on the book. But later on, if you're like, oh, that's kind of cool, I want to get more hands-on with just Linux, that's when you go spend some time on the book. What's Fanatical? I've never even seen that. Let me see. Is that a book thing? Let me pull this up real quick. Fanatical. Fanatical has book bundles. Okay. See what's going on. I've never seen Fanatical. Except the cookies. Bundling? Okay. I like that they have Pact, because Pact is pretty good. I've seen good stuff come out of Pact. Kali. Okay. And they got it, guys, everything's always on free. Or on free on sale, right? So there's always stuff. There's a cybersecurity book bundle. Like if somebody was saying, hey, Scott, should I get this cybersecurity book bundle for security or your book? I would tell you go here and go buy this stuff. I don't even know what this is. I'd just tell you this is more around cybersecurity. Oh, yeah, there's some good stuff in here. I think I have some of these. For sure, FaintCaf has some of these. Instant response, that's something people need to get better at for sure. Oh, look at that Ranger dog. All right, so let's keep going on this. So personal project, book collection. So Humble Bundle almost always has good stuff up there. Almost finished the program and been on and off with Linux, just trying to refine your Linux skills. Okay. Well, look, if you said, hey, Scott, is there a good place to get hands-on Linux skills? I'd tell you Killer Coda for free, but then I would tell you the book. But you asked about cybersecurity, and I would tell you for cybersecurity, go find one of those book bundles. They're going to be better than my stuff for security stuff for sure. Let's go look at what Humble Bundle's got. Humble Bundle's got some stuff up right now. What's Humble Bundle got up? Bundles, books. Throw it in here. All this other stuff we linked earlier, the chaos engineering stuff and the AWS stuff, that's all fine. Okay, fine, sure, whatever. Dive into DevOps, boom. But before you guys buy any books, wait till we get to the other free books I've got, because there are free books out there. Land a Tech Job, BRPD. Some of this stuff, though, can I be honest? Before you go spending any money, guys, which you could, go hang out with the community. Find stuff. Hey, CM Griffin, how's it going? I've been hanging out in your streams for years, just watching you code, even though I'm not a coder. I am a systems engineer. Yeah, free books. These books cost a little bit, but I'll show you guys the free books that are out there. For some of you guys, there's our Prologue book. I'm not telling anybody to buy that unless they want to. But the free books right here are the Google books. So if you guys have never seen this, let me link this for you. Where's the, damn it. I hate when I do that. So now it's not popping up like I want it to. Here's SRE books that are free right here. So there it is on the Twitch side. Here it is on the YouTube side. By the way, guys, I'm not super popular on the Twitch side, but the YouTube side picked me up like a month ago, and apparently like 98.5% men watching me, which is hilarious that they give me that stat. But look at these books, guys. If you wanted to get into site reliability engineering, here you go. I mean, this is better than a kick in the pants, right? It's more free than anything. But one of the guys I know that is a senior site reliability engineer is the one that told me about these books. So here's all this stuff. Again, I tell you guys, if you have nothing on your resume, put something on there. Get some experience. Mix up with another viewer all the time. Know you from Adam Streams. Adam is the best. Nice. Better than a kick in the pants. Yeah. All right, so one other thing for guys that came in a little later, one other super valuable thing out of here is this right here. These are free certifications that are out there, and the training is also free. So, I don't know, maybe just for anybody that... Why does this thing look like crap? Hold on. I blew that link up, so then it changed. But there's general engineering stuff. There are API certs out there, but the certification tests for these are free for all of these. And this IPv6 one, they used to send you a shirt too. I don't know if they still send you the shirt, but the Cloud Practitioner cert from AWS, yeah. I have so CM Griffin. I have some guys in my community that work for AWS. And me and a few of them we have this whole golden jacket joke where we keep track of how far in the golden jacket we've built. And one of our guys built a little, so we've got a bunch of bots in our server that guys have built. And one of our guys used to build this bot where you could just tell it what certs you had and it would populate your golden jacket for free. So, and then he gave a talk on it. But here's our golden jacket stuff. Hold on, let me go up. So what the golden jacket is if you got 12 of the old AWS certs. Oh, look, here's that. This is that free certification test that I was telling you guys. That's the shirt. But hold on, let me go up a little bit. You would tell this thing what certs you had gotten, and it would build your jacket for you. So I have 5 of the AWS certs, and this guy has 12. I know it's not that far up. So here's the golden jacket when it's empty, if you have none of them, right? But then if you tell the jacket that you want to build a certain jacket, so if you say, jacket, I have a certified cloud practitioner, a developer associate, a solutions architect associate, solutions architect pro, security, specialty, and what's SOA? That's the one that he has that I don't have, the sysops, because I just can't pass that stupid sysops one. This is what his jacket looks like, right? So it's a funny little thing we did where like we were talking about building our jacket out of like a patchwork of stuff. So anyways, but this is a bot. You tell the bot what your stuff is, and it'll build it for you, and it'll put that picture in there. One of our other guys, that guy, Fisherman, Guy Bro, if you come in here and you just ask, what is a Linux? It answers you as a salty old Linux engineer or Unix style engineer. These things can get pretty salty here. But what is a Linux? Linux is not Unix. It is Unix-like. I don't have time for your newbie questions. Learn the basics. It's been toned down over the last year, but now it got back to mean again. So the bot does different things. And then here's a cool thing about this, by the way, if you guys don't know. Fisherman has a lab on this. So if you want to learn how to build a little bot like this, he has a lab on Killer Coda. So if we go to hold on real quick, let me find this. There's my Ranger dog. Ranger dog's down there. But if you go Fisherman Guy Bro, his Killer Coda labs right here. So I'm gonna link him the labs. He's got his junior sysadmin ones, and then he uses Python. He does it all in Python. He's actually got it open source. He's got a GitHub somewhere. I don't have his GitHub though. I'm trying to get him to stream more because like he streams every now and then, and his stuff's really good. But I think he's kind of like how when I first started, I wanted everything perfect. Then I realized like people don't really care if things are perfect. They just kind of want to hang out and watch you do stuff like this and be magical or whatever. But he's got a really good set of labs. I did these actually earlier today with some of my engineers. But this one is running a local LLM. So if you wanted to like build a bot that, or you wanted to build anything that just called an API and you didn't want to go pay like ChatGPT prices, which I know get expensive over time, you could run your own local one. And that's what this shows you how to do right here. And then you can hit it. The one that you would run in this lab would be real small, but you can get you can get your API working. You can have your calls doing stuff, and then you could use the queries out there to pull data down and I don't know, you do all kinds of crap with it. Like you wanted to build a little chat bot that somebody talks to, which is what he did, by the way. And that's, yeah. So people can ask questions and it just feeds up into there. Although the one that we use in here, the llama model, which is really small, he uses a more robust one for his actual piece. Quartz One, thanks for showing up. We're just going through. We're actually far afield right now, but I'm just going through certifications and other things and things that I think you should be doing in the industry to kind of get yourself. The title of this is Excelling in the Engineering Field After College, but I put this on there so anybody knows, for anyone. Even if you weren't in college, and even if you were like, Scott, I'm not an engineer in that sense, I learned on my own, that's fine. I know a lot of people that did that. I happen to be on the college side of things. I'm an academic, whatever. I've been a college professor for 15 years. I don't think you need that to get into our field, though. So this was all about, you got to stay hot. You got to keep learning things all the time. That's why a lot of us stream. Like guys that stream, maybe they're doing it for monetary stuff. Most of us don't really make all that much in this. What we're doing is we're keeping ourselves sharp and engaging with other people that are doing this stuff. That's why I do this. The stated goal of our group is to get you guys from being amateurs that do this stuff for fun into pros that get paid for it, right? You can do Linux engineering and make good money. There's real good money in this. So thanks for the follow, guys. One space case, 4-wheel gator, memorial. Or what is that? Memori? I don't know what that is. Anyways, thanks for the follows. Hopefully this stuff's useful. So we did all this stuff. We were talking about how you learn and building your projects, building your book collection. Now industry discussion. This is maybe, if you tell me all that other stuff wasn't for you, that's fine. This is what I think is one of the most important things. And the example I always give here is there's this old movie called The 13th Warrior. Some of you are going to be like, God, what the hell is this guy talking about? There's an old movie called 13th Warrior. It's actually a fantastic movie. When I first saw it, I didn't like it that much, but as I got older, I'm like, yeah, that's a pretty solid movie. But anyways, it's based on a Michael Crichton book called Eaters of the Dead. And what Eaters of the Dead is, yeah, Banderas is in it. He's the 13th Warrior. But all that to say, there's this really awesome scene in it. He kind of gets forced to go along with these other warriors, and they're always kind of making fun of him for being the little guy and having this horse that's basically a dog. They're always calling this horse a dog. But there's this scene where he's going with them, and he doesn't understand their language. So while he's sitting there and like eating dinner with them and like on these ships with them to go fight this monstrous horde that they have to deal with, it's really interesting if you haven't seen it. It's a well done movie too. But he doesn't understand their language. But then as he sits there, he starts hearing like dog and pony and your mom, and like he starts hearing these things as these guys talk because he's learning the words as they joke around over dinner. And then finally one of the days, one of the guys makes fun of him and says, only a Persian would bring a pony to, what does he say, a dog to war instead of a pony because his dog's so short. And he's like, the only dog here is your mother. And the guy's like, when did you learn our language? And like everybody's laughing and stuff because these guys are always ribbing on each other because they're like veteran soldiers. They're all Northmen, so they're all like Vikings. And it's really funny because like they all just, he thinks he's like gonna insult the guy back, but they all just laugh about it. And they're like, when did you learn our language? And he's like, I listened. And my whole point in telling you that story is that's how a lot of people get into engineering circles. You just kind of like hang out with the engineers and they're all talking and you're like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. And over time, one day they're just like, hey, no, this guy knows because he did it. He worked on that project with me. Hey, how'd you do that? And you're like, oh, shoot, they're asking me questions. Next thing you know, you're like, I am an engineer. Like, I didn't even realize it, but I was just sitting with the engineers until I became one. And that's kind of what happens in that movie. It's a really great example of, like, learning a language, I thought. But anyway, so my thing is, find people. If it's not me, like, if I'm not your favorite streamer, CM Griffin is great. He does a lot of programming and stuff, and maybe he's your favorite guy. Maybe, God, guys, maybe... I don't want to say any of the other guys, but maybe one of these other guys that's there, I think, to entertain people. Maybe some of these other guys that just, talk on their stream and talk about the most current things, maybe they're the ones that resonate with you. But find somebody that's talking about technology and podcasts, and then I say right here, don't get sucked in by infotainment. It's very easy to go and sit in a chat or sit in a thing where people are sitting around and talking about... I mean, they're just talking about, like, whatever the thing of the day is, and they want to get you fighting over, like, Rust or Golang, and, like, who fucking cares, right? Like, who cares about what's arguing? Like, if you know how to build something with a tool, do it. If there's some limitation of a tool, understand it and either work around it or do something else. But this is engineering, right? I'm not beholden to any one thing. I mean, I guess I'm beholden to Linux because Linux is pretty good, but I'm not beholden to any one version of Linux. Great bug bounty and some dev content. Nice. Golden One. Nice. I haven't seen them. Most of the time it's funny. Most of the time on Twitch, I'm just watching people play Dead by Daylight because I've got a problem. Probably stems from my time in the U.S. Army Infantry, where I like watching people get killed on Dead by Daylight. I don't know what it is. It's better than a horror movie to me. And I like horror movies. So, but find technology podcasts around topics that are interesting to you. Right. This is how you're gonna sit with those engineers and listen to them. So Slack, Discord, Usenet groups about the topics you're interested in. Morrison, there's an older version of this. When I get done with this, I'm gonna post these up in this will be in the presentation part of the channel. As soon as this is done, I will show you guys me saving it in there so that you know I'm not lying to you. Because I used to always say I would do it and then I wouldn't get around to doing it. But let's go look at, here's some Reddit ones. When I did my CISSP, which was, again, many years ago, this one was a bunch of information here. I'll link this to you guys here. Give me 1 second. Here's a Reddit post that somebody put together. And it's a bit older now. It was updated about 4 years ago. But it's a bunch of links to places that people studied to get ready for their CISSP. So if you said, Scott, I want to study for that a little bit. Yep, infantry. In fact, some of the times we talk about why is the sky blue? We were talking about that earlier, and it's because of the old infantry joke, because God loves the infantry, right? Infantry, blue cords, all that good stuff. Watch this. Come down here. There's a list of podcasts right here. And these podcasts, this is just a whole bunch of podcasts, like 40 different podcasts of security stuff. So if you wanted some podcasts for security, I'll link that to you guys. I don't know how that works for people that are watching this later. Like if it was, I was 11 Bravo. Yep. Well, I was 11 X-ray to start, and then I was 11 Mike, and then I was 11 Bravo. I don't even know what the alpha designator it is. Is that, what's 11A? Is that, shit, I don't even know what the 11A designator is. Is it an officer? I don't know. I was 11 Bravo, so I don't know. My brother was 11 Charlie. He was a mortarman. Oh, okay. Well, I don't keep people from being officers here, although I will to the end of my days curse Colonel Sutherland's name because he shook my hands and lied to me. And you might say, who the hell's a Colonel Sutherland? He's on CNN. Some of you guys have seen him over the years. But I will never forget that when I got my expert infantry badge on my first try at 18, he shook my hand and he looked me in the eyes and he told me he was sending me to airborne school. Well, he asked me if I wanted to go and I said yes. And he said, then you're going. And he walked down the line and he gave it to all of his officers, all of his butter bars, second lieutenants, because he had over prescribed by one and I was the guy who didn't get to go. So curse him to the end of my days because he shook my hand and he looked me in the eyes and he told me he was sending me to airborne when I was an 18-year-old. First interaction with an officer of any real type when I was in the Army. Got my EIB on my first try at just barely 18 years old. I think I was the youngest guy in my unit to ever get it. But anyways, all right. Slack. So those are all those podcasts for you guys to watch. A bunch of you are like, did Scott just have a stroke? What the hell is he talking about? Infantry stuff. Go look up a combat infantry. Well, I got my combat infantry badge on my first try too, but my expert infantry badge I got on my first try. Some guys can never get those. Okay, so look at this. This is one of my buddies turned me on to this. One of my friends, Jared, who comes and talks to our group sometimes. There's a thing, this is going to be an older version of it, but Measure Slack and Measure Camp. If you guys have never heard of Measure Camp or Measure Slack, they are one of the biggest data analytics. Yeah, why does the grass grow? Because of blood, right? Bright red blood. But in here, this is Measure Camp. I think it's for an older one. Yeah, for 2023. But they've got a Slack that you can go find. If you go look up Measure Slack, you'll find it. But last I heard, they were like 30,000 data analytics guys. People that just collect data and web tracking and Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager, those kind of things. And Jared's talked there before. Jared Smith, one of my buddies. You can find him on Twitter and stuff. He doesn't care if people know who he is. But he talks on here. And that's look, find things that are interesting. Get involved in open source projects. If you're willing to write code and debug code and you're brand new, you guys could be working on a project tonight. You could be working on a project before you even get off this stream right now. You just be in there just working on stuff, right? There's some big ones. So I do a lot with high performance compute in my professional. It's going to bug me. Hold on. Right here. Performance. High performance compute. I do a lot with high performance compute, but there's a couple of initiatives that have started very recently that are big for high performance compute. So high performance software foundation was just announced. Look at the date on that. That's only like 2 weeks ago. This was just announced by the high performance software was by the hell are they called? The ones that do certified Kubernetes, the foundation. CNCF, Cloud Native Computing Foundation, yeah. In there. But who's that by? Yeah, the Linux Foundation. Yeah, those guys. So, they are trying to like kind of certify and build everything around high performance compute, because a lot of times we just build these big zombie clusters. Like everything I build is just fucking one-off monstrosity with Ansible, right? But it's real easy to configure with Ansible. But then there's like Beowulf and Werewolf and XCat and all of these different tools that try to build this. Well, what these initiatives are, this one here, which I'll link to you guys, is a big one. Yep. Man, we got a lot of infantry guys in here. There's infantry guys over on the YouTube side too. Fun fact, when I was in the infantry, it was only males. Now I think they've changed that. I don't know the whole story there. But I can tell you that it's kind of like the stream here. The stream is on the YouTube side, 98% men. 98.5% men watch me. I told my wife about that, and she's like, that is really, really funny. And I said, that's quite funny to me as well. So, yeah, YouTube gives you all these numbers, and one of them is that only guys like to hang out with me. So, let's see if I can do... This is the Ubuntu one. So Ubuntu just started this last year, and this is their version of that same HPC thing. And they are using, so Canonical Ubuntu, they're trying to build high performance compute. And they just recently had a little community team put together, last year. And I don't know how much it's been going. I know they were meeting every month, but you can go and you can just sit in there and listen if you wanted to and see what they have involved. They have a public call here, and you can go get on there. I don't know if they're still doing that. There's an official community page, so you can get in here and you can dig into all this stuff, right? All kinds of stuff. Haven't seen any movement on it lately, but there you go, boom. There's all kinds of labs on Killer Coda, not just my labs. There's literally thousands of other labs out there. And then this was one, man, this is near and dear to my heart, because I built the NOAA clusters that they currently run on. I built the Dogwood and Cactus clusters. So did you guys know that if you wanted to get into data science-y type stuff, that there's a lot of free resources out there to get in there? And what I mean by that is, like, let's go to look at the library guides for NOAA. Let me link this and pull this up here. Did you guys know that almost every week they run free seminars out of NOAA? So I'm going to link it on the Twitch side, link it on the YouTube side for people that want to follow along. And you can go in here and you can find out. There's one coming up June 5th. This guy's going to talk about this. You can register to get the thing. Here's the information. And then, is this open to the public? I think it says in here that it's open to anybody. And you can go read about this stuff. So you want to learn about time, water, and geological forces that create underwater sinkholes. Maybe that's the most interesting thing you've ever heard. Maybe that right there opened something up and you decide that that's the engineering you want to go work on. Navy too. I'm not in the military, but I've seen videos of how one of the main selling points of having women in the Navy was to improve morale. Interesting. So we look at these guys. There's a tremendous amount of things, right? Whatever motivates you. There's all kinds of stuff going on. So back to this. There's also, if you didn't know, this is one of the things I was telling you guys earlier. Did you guys know that the U.S. government figured out long ago that paying a bunch of researchers to look at data does not net as many good effects as just opening that data to the public? Did you guys know that? Like, the public will just figure stuff out. I remember the original Sid Meier Civilization. Does anybody remember the original Sid Meier Civilization game? It's a little two-dimensional game. I think it's all 3D now. But the original Civilization game, you would put libraries in all your towns, and then you would build the great library if you could. And if you got those, every now and then you would just get inventions. You wouldn't have to. You'd be doing research on investments as the government, because that's what you did in civilization, was you ran the government. But like, people would just discover things. People would discover chemical processes, and people would discover this and this if you had libraries everywhere. That was actually something I used to do when I played. I would make sure, well, there are two things. I would always have Mongolians for irrigation, so I had a lot of food, and my city would grow fast, and then I'd put libraries everywhere. It says Admin Adventure is awesome, man. K is really helpful out. Yeah. Oh, Jose Sosa, are you doing Fisherman's? Fisherman's down in our server. He's the guy who wrote the bot. So when you get into there and you want to start messing with the bot, and you want to talk to the real live Bob Blurski, that's Fisherman. No, I can't say that. Bob Blurski's like the worst character ever made. He's this guy that asks you all these questions in the labs up there. But yeah, if you guys are doing the labs, man, there's some really good stuff in there. My college has switched almost entirely to open resource textbooks. Free information is key. Yeah, I'm a big fan, Apollo, of just free information. Like, people, I had a really good mentor early in my career, and he was always like, Scott, all this stuff's free, man. Like, I want to learn, he's like, I want you to learn how to do this stuff. And he was really good. I could ask him anything. He was kind of like the system whisperer. He just understood systems really well. So open data, there's all kinds of data. If you didn't know, you could go to data.gov, and there are 297,000 data sets, almost 300,000 data sets available for you to download and go look at, and open APIs for you to hit, and all this kind of stuff. Local, depending on where you are in the U.S., they have local API keys. I actually have a API key for the local Arizona Department of Transportation, and I can hit them, and I can pull information. How's that compared to something like Kaggle? I mentioned Kaggle earlier, and I'm going to tell you guys this. The problem with these data sets is, well, yeah, no, but anybody can use them. They're open. But the difference between this and like Kaggle is these will not be curated in any way. You will be pulling raw data from an API. I mentioned Kaggle earlier. I kind of gave a nod to it here. And what I was saying about Kaggle is Kaggle has really good curated data sets that are, like this, like the little Italian thing. It's just really good data that's already formatted well and cleaned up, and you don't have a lot of empty, that you got to go and smooth over with like mean, doing like a mean all the way across the board. Yeah. So it's there's a lot. This is more clean. The stuff that you would be pulling out of this would be like raw API data. So you may have, anybody here ever tried to pull like CVSS scores? CVSS data is just a hot mess, so you got to fill it a lot of the times. Yeah, it's clean data mostly for... Yeah. Apollo, that's one of the things about Kaggle is it's so... You can get really, really, really clean, really nice data that you don't have to play the cleaner part. For the normal data pipeline, for you guys that play data type stuff, you ingest your data, you clean it, then you do something useful with it, then you like store it, or you share it and use it and store it, and then you archive it off, right? There's kind of like this whole data analytics pipeline that people typically build. But cleaning data can be a challenge because you got to think about all these use cases, and then some new use case comes along, and you have to figure out what your catch-alls are and all that stuff. It's a lot like people that are building functions and stuff on websites where you got to build like, well, what if they go to a path that isn't test or shopping or whatever? What do we do? Do we give them a bullshit page? Do we throw them a 404? Do we kick them out of our server? Right? And you got to do this stuff. Yeah, but so Morrison, yeah, it depends. It's the same thing as like what we were talking about with the little bot, the little large language models. You can use a tiny little one to just bounce your bot requests off of, and then when you're ready, you point it at a real model, and then you pay the API costs, or you beef up your server and do something bigger. But all right, that was something we were talking about earlier. All right. So review, we talked about continuing education, learning how you learn. We had enough people coming in. I'm going to go over the learning how you learn stuff again just real quick. This was at the beginning, and I was talking about, like, we're engineers, right? We deal in truth. We want to give accurate answers. We want to find the 1 and the 0 and test the truthiness of a bit. That's what we do as engineers. So why does a company need us? Because we need to understand the best technology to solve a problem. We maybe need to work with the architects to figure out what's capable, right? Sometimes we got to fix a problem or troubleshoot things. Like we know that these 8 steps must occur for a transaction, but something's breaking along 4. But how do we know that? Because we didn't have visibility, so we had to use our tools to find where things were breaking, and then we go along through, right? And I tell you guys all the time, as like a Linux engineer, as a systems engineer, I get pulled into coding stuff and dev stuff and database backend and networking stuff. And I'm like, what am I even doing here? I'm not one of these guys. But they want me there because I troubleshoot things well. That's one of the things I tell people all the time. Like, being a good systems engineer, they're going to be like, that guy knows Linux. Make him go help these guys with this thing. And I'll be like, ah. Then you get thrown on what's called tiger teams. Anybody here ever been thrown on a tiger team? That's what they used to call them at Lockheed Martin. I used to get thrown on them all the time. It was really funny. It's just like a dense team of just people working on a problem that you have to get worked through to go on. So I used to always get thrown on tiger teams. That was fun. It's good though. It's good, like troubleshooting and understanding the systems and stuff. So anyway, so learning how you learn. This is what I was saying. Is everybody learns things differently. Some people learn fast. I know guys who they can just like They can just scan a web page real quick, like a documentation, and they just pull out exactly what they need and they go. Some people have to spend a little more time and figure it out and go, I don't really understand how that structure works, so I got to go and reference it a little more. So some people learn slow, some people learn quick, right? Yeah, tell me the effects you want, I'll give you a tool. Yeah, Morrison, I'll tell you, I've often thought that that's like a sign of maturity in an engineer where they don't really care. Like I get asked all the time, like, Scott, why are you on a Windows machine? You're a Linux guy. And I'm like, I can do literally anything I need to from this window right here. This window right here. It's a putty window. People are like, oh, it's putty? As long as I can get here, I can do literally anything inside these systems, right? And that's where you want to be. I don't care about how I get there. All this other stuff out here is just for productivity, for teaching my college classes and for building stuff with PowerPoint and stuff. So anyways, everybody learns differently, but there are some similarities between all people. And this is why there's studies of how people learn and how colleges should, and how people should, talk about things and all that stuff. So let's talk about real quick. I'm just going over this because people got here a little later. Figure out a schedule that works for you. And this is a big important thing. You do not find time, you make time. You don't just find time at the end of your day when you're getting ready for bed to like study a little bit. You should be studying all the time. Also, it's better to do it daily, even if it's small, than trying to cram once at a time. Yeah, well, hopefully the book's good, man. Like, the goal of our book is to get people reflecting on the labs and digging even deeper in a lot of that stuff. So nobody has to buy the book. I'm always emphasizing that. You're welcome to, though, and hopefully it's valuable for you. And I always hope that, because I put a lot into that, and so did some of the other guys in the Discord. They helped me out with it, so a lot of stuff. Windows Terminal slay. I could do stuff just fine out of Windows Terminal because I would then, as soon as I got in there, I would just go to screen and then I'd be connected to the machine and I wouldn't care what I was on. But yeah, I get the point. Okay, so do you need a Pomodoro timer? Do you suck at time boxing? Time boxing is the idea that you like get all your tasks set up in the morning and know what you're doing for the day roughly. Do you get interrupted a lot? Pomodoros are great for that. Some people can sit and watch a video for hours. One of the things I mentioned on this is I used to watch all my videos on one speed. This is all live, so like you're kind of stuck watching me at one speed. But for people that watch it later, you might watch me, like I watch people at 1.75. I know some people, I think it was Bearded Dragon, who's sometimes around, and he was originally told me he watches people at like 3 speed, and I'm like, man, I can't listen that fast. Oh, there's a book, David, but again, nobody has to buy it if they don't want. The book is all journaling around the labs. So you could do the labs without the book, but if you wanted to like journal your thoughts and dig a little deeper, that's what the book's for. Nobody has to buy it though. All right. Figure out what you're interested in. So everything we were talking about is what's interesting to you. Take a self-assessment. I have one free on Discord where you just go through. I pulled it up earlier. What's a self-assessment look like? It's a way for you to assess yourself, right? You go here and you say, okay, what do I like? Here's the methodology, right? Read through the methodology, scope, how do we assess ourselves? Then you come down here and you assess how good are you at these things. And look, be honest with yourself. If you're down here on everything, there's no shame in that. Maybe you've been a Windows guy your whole life and you're not good at any of these. Maybe you need to change some of these out because, again, none of this applies to you, right? But then once you've assessed yourself on these things, maybe, you come down here and say, am I even interested in any of that stuff? And if your interest in security is high, but your technical assessment of yourself with security is low, that's what you want to go spend time on. And this was just my example. I did this for a team at work, one of my contracts that I work on. I built this for them to do a technical self-assessment and then a business self-assessment. How good are you at these things? And how much do you want to do this? I have no interest in doing budget or financials. None. Zero. I did that stuff in college in my master's, one of my master's programs. I did a whole bunch of budget and the CPA type stuff. And I looked at budgeting and I was like, I do not want to ever be an accountant. Adding to, positive values and subtracting negative value. I was like, oh my God, I'm just going to get through this class and never do that shit again. And that's what I did because I wasn't interested in that. Vendor interactions. I don't mind working with vendors, sending stuff back and forth, always making sure nothing's in my hand. Hey, Robodom, how's it going? We've been telling people about, actually really what we've been doing. I've been telling people about this because this is free. And then we were going through how people learn. So, yeah, Morrison. So then that's where you have to find what interests you the most, right? Like when I was 18 to early 20s, what interested me the most was girls. So I chased a lot of girls, right? And I did a lot of weightlifting because I thought girls liked guys that lifted weights. Then you find out when you've been in the gym for years that guys like guys that have muscles. You get a lot more talking to by guys, straight guys, by the way. They just like your muscles or whatever. So it's kind of like this funny thing that happens. You think all the girls are going to be looking at you, but it's not that. And there's been memes on all that stuff. Moon's here, by the way. There we go. So this is how you learn. This is something that I showed earlier. This is called the Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy is something we use in bro, Inspector. We have so many of those. The bro nice gains. But this is Bloom's taxonomy. You start at the bottom. Everybody starts at the bottom. It's kind of like a video game. And what do? You just remember things. In fact, the tests down here look like the tests you got early on in school where they asked you for spelling tests. Could you spell these words? Can you regurgitate things directly back to me that you saw? Whatever. Turtlebeard, yeah, thanks for showing up tonight. People on the Twitch side, we got rated by CM Griffin. So I don't know. Robodom, do you mind giving him a shout out? I don't know if you can find the thing, but it was CM Griffin. I didn't give him. There's a G on the end of his name, but we got rated by him earlier. So we're always glad when people rate in. Hopefully, people hang out and like what they're seeing and stuff. But this was earlier on in the talk, but I went back to it because I think enough people had showed up to go back through. But understand. Remembering is sometimes called appendix, or we call this like a appendix isn't a good one. A glossary. Let me fix that. Actually, I meant to fix this earlier. So it's actually like a glossary term. So anybody ever been in a glossary? It's just a bunch of terms. That's the term I meant to put there when I wrote this earlier. But yeah, it's like a glossary. Like you just know a bunch of things about, the terminology, but you don't know all that much. Thanks for the Prime Turtlebeard. You can use those anywhere. You chose to use them here, so I always appreciate that. And we go up and we get more and more information all the way until we're creating new information from information. If you were to apply this to like degrees, the first 2 layers and maybe just starting to edge into the third is like your bachelor's. 3, 4, and up into 5 tend to be like master's level. And then 5 and 6 are typically like doctorate levels. If we're talking like how this applies back to like upper level learning and that kind of stuff. So if you remember a lot of your stuff in your bachelor's program, you did a lot of writing and citing what other people said. That tracks. You cite a lot of other people and you use their thoughts to prove your points. Up here, you have to prove your own points, but you still use their thoughts, but you're starting to make your own assessments of things, right? Whereas a lot of times, if you were doing your assessments of things down here, some of your teachers might have been like, whoa, we don't do that yet. Just tell me what the industry says. Don't go jumping way up here and trying to create new stuff. I'm not saying that that's right. Maybe some people feel stifled with that. I'm just telling you this tends to be the way that people learn well. So this is the structure. And if you ever want to learn, I always tell my son, I tell my students this, I'm telling you guys this. When I say students, I mean my actual college students. It's all about learning how to play the game, right? This is the game right here. This is how your brain works. Figure out how to stuff things into it. And this is a good model for learning things. Even if you ever look at like how they teach medical school, medical students have been learning stuff for a long time. Did you know they do a lot early on where they're just like memorizing all the muscles in your chest and all the bones underneath it and everything in the pulmonary area? They're just learning. There's a tremendous amount of terminology that they learn early on before they get up into some of this other stuff. They probably do a lot of this as they're still going, but it's like a tremendous amount of learning all these different things. But this is the taxonomy that we use to learn. Now, applying that knowledge, this is knowledge, right? Applying that knowledge tends to be a model like this. And I've posted this in the Discord before, so some of you guys might have seen this. Yeah, your professor wants you at 3 and 4 of Bloom's taxonomy. Fair enough, right? Fair enough, absolutely. So, this is how you learn. You start in the bottom left. You're unconsciously incompetent about something. You don't know what you don't know. Then you start to learn about it and realize either through your own self-study or putting yourself under somebody as a tutor, you move yourself up to here. And you don't know, but at least you know that you don't know and you want to learn. And you're now conscious of your incompetence. Then you keep studying and you work over here and you start to develop some proficiency and knowledge, but you still have to think actively to apply or maintain it, right? So you have to think, oh, shoot, okay, I'm going to go to a server, so I got to SSH to that server. Okay, now I'm in the server. Wait, what server is this again? Cat, Etsy Splat Release, and see the versioning of the server, and you go, okay, this is one of our RHEL 7 boxes, a little bit older. We use SSSD on this box, and you've got to think through things. But after you've been doing this for a long time, you move down here to unconscious competence, and you're just like, you just know things, and you're proficient without it. But I was telling you guys that one of the things is, I actually made this in, this is in Smart Art, so I can actually edit this. So this is a little Smart Art. If you guys have never seen that, it's kind of a cool little slide. If anybody, I will put this slide up when we're done with this talk. I'll put this up in the Discord, like I mentioned. I will do it while I'm on stream, so you guys know I'm not lying to you. But you don't even have to think about it. You're proficient. But I was telling you guys, this is kind of dangerous in the tech world. This is like you're just coasting along doing stuff. Hey, I know how to do that web stuff. I know how that works. I know whatever. But you're not learning here. So I tell you, try to break out of being here and stay up here. Try to always be learning more about the environment you're in. This is like what we call, like, again, being conscious. You're conscious of what's happening. You're not just on autopilot, right? This is unconsciously competent. You're sitting there just doing whatever while you're watching Netflix or whatever. This isn't to say that errors can't happen in any of these. They can. But it's something to kind of to know, work on. Okay, we got all the way down to here. We've done all that, so now we're down here. We talked about industry discussion. We got to our review. And then the questions are, message me on Twitch, or I guess YouTube probably has some function for you guys to message me. You can join the Discord and hang out with us down there. So I appreciate a good size percentage. Yeah. Let me hold on. I'm going to save this. And this is called Twitch Excelling in the Inner. Yeah, so hold on. These were the links that we were on, so we did all the links. And then let me pull this up. Prolog presentations. This was the one that we just changed right now. Oh, it's 7:30 already? Wow. This is the one, okay. Remember, it was for anyone. And let me pull up my Discord. Hold on, so you guys know I'm not lying to you. Move this up here. Those people still asking. Oh, my God. Oh, God. Oh, jeez. Well, hopefully SimpleBot didn't make the rest of the bot break. Hold on. So down here, where are we at? Presentations, right? Keeping me honest. There you go. There it is. Twitch Excelling in the Engineering Field, 731 under the presentation section. So there's a presentation of what we just worked on and all that good stuff. Let me pull up. Let me put this one back behind. We're not going to go over this right now. I do have a lot of stuff in here, but not enough to really work on right now. So we'll work on that another time as far as the cybersecurity stuff. But what did I have? I thought about doing some lab stuff. Oh, jeez. Hold on. Thought about doing some lab building. Maybe we'll save that till... Maybe I'll be on tomorrow a little bit. Well, I actually picked up some more projects at work, so I might be kind of busy. Move this over here. I was going to kind of show you guys a little bit about how we build out the killer Coda labs. I think that'll be valuable for some people to kind of work on that and understand how those pieces work or whatever. So, all right. Where else are we at? We've got plenty of people. Let's go find somebody to raid. I've been on for 3 hours, so that's pretty good for me. Fridays, I don't normally stay on this late because I normally do date night with the wife. But she was out hanging out with, I think one of her friends had something happen, so she has to go hang out with her or something. So it's like girls' night. So I was just hanging out with you guys. I'll probably drop off here and grab some food and stuff. But yeah, if this stuff's interesting to you, you guys are welcome to hang out here as much as you want. The focus here is to get you guys thinking about what's kind of interesting to you. Yeah, Robodom, normally I only do 4 to 5 on Friday nights. I mean, look, guys, I could just change it all over and say we're just playing Brotato all night. But no, I got some college stuff. I got to grade some college stuff. I got to write some more college stuff. I had a big paper due on Wednesday night. That's why I wasn't on Wednesday or Thursday. I got the paper due. I wrote on Wednesday night, and then I had family leave town. I had family in town for the last week with the grandbaby in town, so that was kind of fun. And then I picked up some more projects, so I'm going to be doing a lot of OpenSCAP stuff, and I'm going to be showing you guys how to do some OpenSCAP stuff, which I think you'll really like. If some of you want to get into security and you tell me, hey, Scott, I want to learn how to harden servers and harden this stuff, that's what I want you guys to know and have some confidence in. We need to understand the basics, but security is just right on the other side of knowing all these basics. That's kind of my thoughts on things. Like, a lot of people think they want to do security, but a lot of security is really just tied up in doing the basics well. So, and I'll prove that to you guys as you go if you hang out and do this stuff. A lot of the stuff I do is kind of secure by design, as we like to call. So, all right. Yeah, I'm going to get off of here then. Let's go find somebody to raid, go to our little end of stream thing. I appreciate everybody coming by. On the YouTube side, I guess it's just going to end. But for us over on the Twitch side, we'll go find somebody to raid who's doing interesting stuff out there in the world. Let's see if there's anybody. Well, wait, there's Harold, and there's Math Nerd Gamer. Math Nerd Gamer, though, even though I follow him, he is not doing tech stuff, and Harold is. So we got to go to Harold because he's doing... Oh, who's Hack Smarter? I don't know Hack Smarter. But, guys, I assure you, if you don't know Harold, you want to know Harold. His stuff is so good. His name's Harold Pulcher. I don't know if he's got a YouTube, but what he does is he builds bots. And he's a Microsoft... He's very good over there. So I'm going to tell you guys to hang out with him if you get a chance and follow him. He might be your next favorite streamer. So thanks for coming by, guys. I will talk to some of you tomorrow. And Sundays are all lab days. Take care.